Buckle up, sports fanatics. This is the Sports Chasers Podcast, your HQ for in-depth sports talk. Join host Kevin L. Warren and crew as they dissect the hottest stories, ignite debates, and bring you closer to the action. From locker room whispers to expert takes, we cover it all. It's game time, so strap in and grab a drink. The Sports Chasers Podcast starts right now.
Hey, what up, everybody? What's going on, everybody? It's another edition of the Sports Chasers Podcast coming to you live and direct. It's the Monday Night Football Blitz, man, where we talk about college football and the pros tonight, the NFL, man. A lot of stuff going on according to the college football landscape, man. A lot of chaos going on, man. You got to love it, man. And tonight, we got a special guest. We'll introduce the guest here in a second. Let's meet the crew. D-Dubs, what's up, man? How are you tonight, sir? What's going on?
Good evening. Thursday night, Monday night. I'm trying to fast forward, man. I'm about to get out of here. But welcome everybody. We're back. You know, Monday Night Blitz. Hey man, interesting weekend this weekend. So, you know, we had to talk about it.
Yeah, you know it. The DA, what's up, brother? How are you tonight, sir? Is the DA there? I guess he's not there.
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm here. I was I forgot I muted my screen. Yeah, man. Yeah. Hi.
Oh, pleasure to meet you, Dave. Thank you so much. Thank you for all those that's checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, X. Make sure you like, click, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bells for all the notifications. And for all those that's listening on the sound of my voice, hey, make sure you give us that 5-star review on the podcast inside. So we appreciate that, man. And, hey, we got our special guest tonight. Man, they've been with us a couple of times, man. Yo, the East Coast Gridiron. Let me give them some applause, man. So appreciate them for hanging out with us tonight, man. We got Danté. What's up, Danté? What's going on tonight, bro? How are you?
Hey, man. Like I told y'all backstage, my wife is in Disney. I'm hanging out with the fellas tonight. It is what it is.
So he got time today.
Got you, man.
I got time.
Got time today. Khalid, what's up, brother? How are you tonight, man?
Yo, still recovering from that Saturday night disappointment against the Longhorns, but other than that, you know, my Eagles brought me some joy yesterday. I'm ready for, you know, some postseason action in college football and, you know, NFL. We're really getting into the thick of it here, so good time for football right now. Got a lot of stuff going on. I'm loving every second of it.
Gotcha. Appreciate y'all guys for coming through, man. Like I said, these guys, anytime I ask, man, Danté and them, they always show up. And if you want to make sure you know football, man, these guys know football. They break down film, all that. Their YouTube link is in the description. Give them some love, show them some love, subscribe to their channel, and make sure you hit the bells for all their notifications. The East Coast Gridiron, the angry one. What's up, E? What's going on? What happened to them Birds yesterday, man? What happened to them Cardinals?
What happened is exactly what I told you they was gonna happen. They lost. You know what I'm saying? But yo, man, they put on an entertaining game, man. What's going on to you fellas? How y'all doing?
How's it going?
Yo.
All right.
Okay, man. Appreciate you, E, man. So like I said, we're gonna talk about yeah, that too. We're gonna talk about some college football. Talk about the AP 25, and y'all know that the college rankings will come out on tomorrow, Tuesday at 8:00, I believe. That's when the rankings come out for this week, and then next week is it. So let me just break it down. We'll talk about some games, a couple games. So Oregon is ranked number 1 according to the AP. Texas is 2, Penn State is 3, Notre Dame is 4, Georgia is 5, Tennessee is 6, Ohio State, they're 7, SMU is 8, Indiana's 9, Boise State is 10, Alabama's 11, Arizona State is 12, South Carolina 13. I was on their campus last week. Number 14, Miami is number 14. Ole Miss is 15. Iowa State 16. BYU 17. Clemson 18.
Where they at, Tim?
Who? Which one? You said BYU?
No, Miami. I told you they wasn't gonna make it.
Well, we'll get into that, sir. Yes.
I told you.
They're outside looking in. UNLV is 19. The Colorado Buffaloes, they're 20. Illinois is 21. Missouri is 22. Syracuse is 23. They breached the top 25 with their victory over Miami. And Army is 24. Memphis is 25. Danté and Kelli, I'll give it to you guys. Your thoughts on the AP 25 top 80-12, even though, we were really concerned about, I guess, the top 16. But I just read it. What you guys thought and what the committee is going to do on tomorrow.
A couple things I like here. The fact that Syracuse is sitting there at 23. That's well deserved. And I think you can almost justify them being at 21 or 20 by the way that they beat Miami. And it's not their fault, right? I mean, a lot of us knew that Miami was frauds, like from the jump. Have a close game against Louisville, have a close game against Cal. Yes. And nothing but penalty blunders that went in their favor. Virginia Tech, they get the call against them. And then you go against Syracuse. Fran Brown's been doing this thing, man. He's bringing them a Georgia pedigree to their team. And, of course, I'm kind of partial because that's where my wife went. She went to Syracuse. So I was like, this is the first time that I ever betted on Syracuse to win anything since we've been together. I even FaceTimed her when she was down there. I said, check this out. I'm happy for you guys. And I knew that they would go in. The thing that I've been saying from the jump, and me and Khalid talked about this, cover 2 zone, cover 3 zone is going to stop everything that they're doing when it comes to these slant routes because that's all that Cam Ward does. Their defense is not good enough to compete with the bigger teams. And then also, you haven't played a ranked team all year for you to be justified that high in the rankings. SMU has a way better schedule than you so far. For them to have dropped just 6 spots is absolutely outrageous to me. But Missouri still being up here is kind of crazy. They just keep climbing up too because they're frauds as well. But, overall, I always look at the smaller schools, right? Memphis getting the respect, coming in and beating Tulane. And when everybody had Tulane beating them, right? Like, it is what it is. South Carolina, me and Khalid have been saying this too, and I'm going to let Khalid go after this, but South Carolina has been our favorite team to watch all season. Every single week, they put teams on the ropes. Lenore Sellers is going to be a first-round pick here in a couple years. The things that he was doing was absolutely outrageous. Kyle Kennard was one of the ones on the edge. Dylan Stewart is the freshman. Nick Harbor, all he has to do is just tighten the screws a little bit. That dude's going to be a standout here in a couple years as well. I don't know. South Carolina got the juice. It's Beamer ball for real. There's no memes around saying Beamer ball now. Like, he's got those kids rolling now. So there's a lot of stuff I like here. I think Arizona State, you obviously have to move them up a little bit more for beating. Being there, being the number 1 team in the Big 12. And then Ohio State dropping 5 spots. I'm not sure if I like that as much going against Michigan when they're depleted on that offensive line right now. But, maybe I'm a little biased because I do want to see my boy Will Howard get him a chip. But, it is what it is. I'll admit my biases when it comes to things. But Ole Miss not moving at all is kind of interesting because a lot of people are trying to justify, is it going to be Alabama? Is it going to be them? Or is it going to be South Carolina? Those are the 3 teams that are kind of on the bubble. And I've said this already. South Carolina's resume, they've played better teams than Alabama and Ole Miss at this point. So I don't know how you don't justify South Carolina beating arguably the number 1 team in the ACC before they beat an ACC championship contender this weekend. That's to justify everything that you need to know. So I don't know. Looking at the AP poll, it's going to be interesting to see what the CFP does tomorrow. But, I like some of the moves that they made. They definitely put the gas pedal on the CFP committee tomorrow. They've been up. I'm telling them boys been up for about 48 hours right now. They made about 10,000 pots of coffee because it's going to get pretty nasty tomorrow. This weekend did not make it easy on them.
Yeah, that South Carolina upset especially. That was definitely going to be the game, between Clemson and South Carolina that really shaped what this week's playoff rankings were going to look like because of how hot South Carolina has been, but the fact they've lost already this season to both Ole Miss and Alabama. With that being said, though, I don't think anyone would even argue that the South Carolina team that has stepped between those white lines these last 4 or 5 weeks is the same South Carolina team that lost to Ole Miss and lost to Alabama. And you can make the same exact case, but flip the other way for Alabama. They've been kind of, on a downward trend. That loss to Oklahoma was a terrible look for them. If that Alabama team played the current South Carolina team the way they're looking, it wouldn't even be close. I don't care where it's played. It can be in Tuscaloosa, in the heart of Alabama. South Carolina is walking out of there with a double-digit win. Now, I don't know if the playoff committee will look at that, but I do think it's interesting, though, with all of that in mind, that South Carolina is still ranked below Alabama. A couple of the things that really intrigue me are the gaps between some of these teams. Because you have Alabama, right? Name brand. Like I said, that loss to Oklahoma, not a good look. And then you have Arizona State, who has been hot. But it's Arizona State. They're not a name brand, right? They're only 8 votes behind Alabama in that number 12 spot. So you're looking at one voter being a little bit higher on Arizona State, and you're jumping up a little bit more, right? And another very close draw here between Notre Dame and Penn State at 3 and 4, a difference of 5 votes. So it's clear that the voters are very, the difference between a team like Penn State and Notre Dame or Alabama and Arizona State it's almost negligible. There's really no difference between the two. So that's kind of going to be pushed now onto the playoff committee. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Like, are they going to decide that Arizona State should be ranked above Alabama? Not that it may not matter.
Not to cut you off, Khalid, but go back to your Arizona point real quick.
Yeah.
I know what they did there. I know why that single vote didn't come in. Jordan Tyson getting hurt.
Yeah, Jordan
That's where it
Tyson's
came
not
from.
going to be available. And
Their best wide receiver's not going to be in that game. So somebody was like, I don't know if I trust him to be Iowa State. I think that's where that came from.
And that's going to hurt them this weekend. I mean, it's a big game.
I hate Danté when we do that.
Yeah, because it's like you handicap other players from stepping up to the point.
You got to let the teams. Yeah, like, okay, he's hurt. This is football.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to have a next man up
Players
mentality.
get hurt in football. That's why we practice 5 days and play 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So, and they did that last year. And I'm not, believe me, I'm not a Florida State fan. But, dude, they won the ACC championship without their quarterback. And then the 13 in the OT, you leave them out. Like, that's dumb. It makes no sense to the world. Like, and I think a lot of stuff is really for sure. Like, I think that South Carolina is probably the hottest team. They're keeping players, right? Which is the biggest over the last 5 years. Prior to, they just lost players every year, right? And you always look at the game and say, "Oh, South Carolina running back is playing for USC." Now they're keeping the guys in because they always got athletes. Like South Carolina is a very good state for football. Like they got linemen up and down on the highway. So there's big boys out there all over the place. They're going to have players there. And
the problem is Clemson's been grabbing them for about 15 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, 15 years. Yeah. They've been getting since Spurrier. Like Clemson was getting everybody since Spurrier. So it's I think they'll be fine. I think they should get a shot. I think they should get a shot. And I don't think Penn State or Dame played anybody this season except for Army. But these are big brands, man. So, you got to keep them in the mix because people will watch the game. But they haven't played anybody. I'm pretty sure their RPIs, if they still look at that, is probably very, very, somewhere near the hundreds. So, I just think iron still sharpens iron. So,
Go ahead, D. You said they haven't played nobody. So, with the teams I'm looking at, the teams like a SMU, Boise State, should they be ahead of Penn State? Who you understand what I'm saying? Like they're 11-1. They got the same. And even Notre Dame,
SMU definitely got a better record than. But the quality of team, I think SMU played higher quality as a team. So the only good team that Penn State played was Ohio State, and they lost.
Same as Indiana. Indiana's not in the championship
USC,
game.
Right?
I think Indiana would have been a better game against Oregon. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how they would have bounced back after that loss. Like Curtis Rourke just put up 6 touchdowns against Purdue. I know everybody's been smacking the crap out of people, but Kurt Signetti said, "Let it rip today and prove to the country that we can come in here and smack any team, and we're gonna smack the worst team in the country real bad." And that's what they did.
As a Purdue alumni, that's why I did not wear that hat tonight.
I forgot about that.
This guy, Purdue alumni.
Man, y'all are ranked last in like every statistical category. That is crazy. I never knew that they was going to be this way this year.
Yeah,
I know you're disappointed, man. Like, it's crazy work.
It's just bad. Hey, when y'all posted the thing with the line when the guy went with the touchdown, that was pretty. It's like only Purdue, bro. Only Purdue. And I got the nerve to wear this hat today. I was waiting for my South Carolina hat to come in because, like I said, I was on the campus this weekend in South Carolina. I went with my niece for a college visit, and I said, man, y'all got a good chance of getting into the playoffs, and man, and to like what you were saying, Danté, man. I've been kind of following South Carolina, in all serious all this year, and they have been playing very well, and I like their team, and hopefully. So what's some of the scenarios, right? So if Clemson loses, right, this coming week against, South Carolina gets it?
If Clemson loses, I don't think anything changes moving forward.
Yeah, I think the SEC game is going to decide a lot, because what do you do with a 3-loss Georgia at that point? After they just barely got past Georgia Tech last week, who was unranked. Because the one misconception that I've been correcting people on, and like I've heard this on several podcasts, and I kind of seem like an a-hole by saying this. Like, no, you guys got it wrong. Me and Khalid, we literally went to their website and read through all their bylaws for this year, what they consider to be contenders, or how they are going to rank teams. Margin of victory is not anything that they're going to consider. So I said that if Indiana doesn't get into the college football playoff, they are lying. Because how do you have every single 11-1 team is in their championship game? They would be the only 11-1 team in the country that doesn't get into the college football playoff, with a whole bunch of teams that have 2 or 3 losses. Wouldn't that look very weird? And the only team that they would lose against is Ohio State. Yeah, I'll guys some serious questions if they don't get in.
Should not lie in the bylaws. Don't lie in the bylaws. That's what I say. Because I'm
they have to be
I'm
bulletproof.
Old school guy. My thing is who you play. Now it seems to me, there aren't any bulletproof teams. I guess you could say Oregon, but what's because the Big Ten's not that strong. There's only 3 good teams, and I'm not counting Penn State as a good team because they let me down every year for the last 20 years, and I don't know how Rich Franklin still has a job. So, that being said, Indiana was good this year. Ohio State, Oregon's good. Well, Ohio State pays a lot of money. I'm not going to say they're good. I think they're soft, but they got like 22 million in NIL, so I expected more of them. So I expected more.
I just don't like how
we'll see. But
how we're looking at this whole playoff picture, and I feel bad for Indiana because everybody's going to be like, "Oh, they had a weak schedule." Well, if you're going to hold their feet to the fire for playing the only good team on their schedule, which was Ohio State, Ohio State just lost to Michigan, and Michigan just beat Ohio State. Right. So how can you not justify Indiana now? It's going to be very hard for them not to justify that. And then also, every single team that's in their championship game this season is going to have a chance to either avenge a loss that they took, or to look better from the loss that they took previous in the season. Like, these teams have had multiple chances. Georgia's had multiple chances. Texas is going to have a chance to beat Georgia this weekend. But Indiana, you telling me they're not going to be able to do anything, and they're just the sad child sitting on the on a rainy day on the sidewalk? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I would love if the committee had the balls on Sunday when it comes up to say Ohio State and Indiana in the college football playoff at one of those seedings. I think all of us up here would be like, hell yeah, let's see if they can get their revenge against a team that they just lost, because the common denominator is Michigan. But everybody's going to want Ohio State to be in this thing. Watch. It's going to be crazy to me.
From some of the brackets I see, that's
actually they're a big money school,
Ohio
man.
State and Indiana is up there. So we'll see.
It would be fun to watch. I'll tell you that. 12-team playoff, anything is possible. And now that you're telling me humans have to figure it out, then yeah, of course it would. The humans decide that they have to play. I don't think anybody up here would be like, "Oh my gosh, this game is going to suck." Indiana, that was a poorly coached game, and it wasn't down to the players.
So,
go ahead, D. You had a question. Go ahead.
So my question to the guys is this: so if we're going to look at it that way, and we're going to say, okay, I guess means a lot. How much you win by? See, this is what I heard. I heard Heather said that it's not so much who you beat, but it's who you lost to. That's going to decide your ranking when it comes to the playoffs. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. It still has to be the eye test if you're not going to put it in the computer. It still has to be the eye test, because if you want to see the best games, and I know it sucks. But because your record is all you got. It's your record. Who you played is on your schedule, which is made up 3 years prior. But the reality is, when you look at these teams, and that's what I try to do. Okay, Tennessee. Who's in Tennessee? And can beat Tennessee?
I think South Carolina could beat Tennessee.
I think if they can beat Tennessee. They're in the same conference. I got no problem with them. They're in the same conference. But I'm talking about out of the conference. And that's why I think the SEC for years has kind of bully balled everybody else. Okay, well, can you beat them? Because, I'm tired of watching the SEC beat up on Michigan, and let's beat them.
Well, that would be the solution, right? Is to let them play each other in the playoffs so you won't have any bias. Because it's like, if you could beat another one of your conference rivals or your conference opponents in the playoff, then it kind of eliminates that conversation if they belong or not. Because it's like, okay, Tennessee and South Carolina, they're both in the playoff. They're both in the same conference. Let them duke it out. Ohio State, Indiana, let them duke it out. Then that way, that guaranteed that one of those guys in that conference is going to be able to move on to the next round, right? Yeah. Instead of having them spread out, and then you have Tennessee that wins and the South Carolina that wins, and then you have Georgia that's in there and another team from the SEC. And now you got 4 teams that are able to get in simultaneously. So it's like the committee's got a tough job of even deciding that. Because it's not more than just I couldn't imagine that it's just everybody put their vote in the hat and then we're going to rank the teams according to that. They're going to be talking about these scenarios, right? They're going to be talking about what is these matchups are going to look like. This is our first year of the 12-team playoff, and we only got 2 years of this before we moved to 14 teams. So we really got to figure this stuff out. And then also losing the Pac-12 last year after them having the best season that they had as a conference. You got to come in with a shebang this year and get the people what they want. I don't think people care about who deserves to be there. The thing that's going to supersede that is the matchups that are going to happen in the college football playoff to me. And if everybody's looking at Tennessee and South Carolina, and Indiana, Ohio State, all of us are going to love that. The real football fans are going to be like, dang, can Indiana come back and beat Ohio State? Tennessee and South Carolina. Did South Carolina really deserve to be here? Let's see if they can beat Tennessee. It's kind of the gatekeeper. I think those are the better storylines on Monday morning, and those make us feel better as football fans as well moving forward.
Gotcha. DA, you had something else before we move on?
Yeah. I'd rather see that than see Alabama again. Yeah, I would rather see that than see Alabama again. So, but you still got to pick the best teams.
Yep.
And that's the hard part is picking and I don't know who's going to be the non-Power 5 team. It started off the season. Started off with it being Memphis was like far and away. Everybody thought they would be the Power 5, non-Power 5 team to make it, but they've kind of done the roller coaster. They've been in the top 25 and out the top 25 maybe 4 times this year. So
it was between 3 teams for us.
We said who is going to be the team.
We said Memphis.
Go ahead, Danté.
No, I was saying we said Memphis, we said Boise State, but all of us collectively thought Liberty was going to get that spot from what they did last year, because remember they were 13-0 until they played Oregon and they got smashed in their bowl game. But like we thought Liberty was still with Caden Salter and they didn't lose too many weapons. You know, we thought that they were going to be the team, and then they fell apart. They lost against Kennesaw State, who's one of the worst teams. And that's where their season kind of cracked under pressure there. And now Caden Salter's in the transfer portal as of today. So I don't. Yep.
Definitely. Khalid, did you have anything else before I move on to the Ohio State and Michigan game?
Yeah, just the last thing I'm looking at here, with the way that things unfolded, I think the only way that Alabama or South Carolina, or even Ole Miss for that matter, can make it into the playoffs, they're going to need Georgia to lose by a lot in Atlanta against Texas this weekend, or they got to bank on Miami tanking in the rankings. If one of those things happens, one of them has a shot. Otherwise, I don't see it working out for them, because let's just say Georgia plays it close or wins. None of the teams, immediately above them, kind of in range of dropping out of the top 12, are playing in conference championships this weekend. Right? You have Boise and Arizona State, but both of them, right, are the highest ranked teams in their conferences. So even if they lose, they're just going to be replaced by the teams that beat them this weekend. Then you have Indiana, SMU, Tennessee, and then like a Notre Dame and potentially Miami. None of them play in conference championship games. So they're really not in any their spot in the playoffs is not under any threat. So if you're an Alabama or South Carolina or even an Ole Miss fan and you want a shot, you are praying that Texas kicks Georgia's butts in Atlanta, or, the committee just really doesn't like what they've seen from Miami. Because you also have to remember, right, their loss to Georgia Tech, their first loss, it was somewhat recently, right? They've now dropped 2 games late in the season, and they haven't shown any semblance of a defense all year.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that they do drop. But just the way things are looking right now, Alabama or South Carolina, we're having this debate of 2 great teams, especially South Carolina, who's been coming on as of late. Unfortunately, though, they have a very, they have slim chances of sneaking into the playoffs. So, we can talk about it all we want here, but it's very possible that the committee doesn't even give them a chance tomorrow night.
Well, with the Miami thing, real quick, is like, how far are they going to drop? And I think the CFP is going to take. I mean, it's death by 1,000 cuts for Miami, man. It's almost damning that you look at a whole schedule of unranked opponents, and then you lose to 2 unranked opponents, one being Georgia Tech and one being, Syracuse. Yeah. Now, I get it. Georgia Tech was close in the game against Georgia. Yeah. But again, they're not considering margin of victory for any team, so that should eliminate the Georgia Tech loss. Then the Syracuse loss that they just picked, I would think is bullcrap if they put, let's say Syracuse gets ranked in the 20s, 22, 21, wherever they're going to be ranked, because it's definitely going to happen. You can't justify Syracuse not being ranked now.
23, right?
Yeah, I think they're 23 in the AP, but let's see what they look like tomorrow. If they justify Miami still being in this thing because they played a would-be ranked opponent, that's BS. That's BS. You have no crystal ball that tells you in the future that this team should be ranked until it actually happens. So if Miami's in there, I would seriously be like, okay, somebody's paying somebody under the table. I think that's a little fishy.
And think about this really quick, right? Miami is ranked in the latest college football playoff rankings right behind Notre Dame and Penn State, 2 teams who notoriously don't have great resumes, don't have great schedules, and especially for Notre Dame, they have the worst loss out of any top 25 team, arguably.
Facts.
So the fact that Miami was already ranked behind a Notre Dame team who plays a lot of ACC teams due to a TV deal and lost to NIU, right? They're saying Notre Dame, who lost to NIU, we think y'all are better than Miami, who lost to Georgia Tech. We think Penn State, who hasn't really played anyone but lost to Ohio State, we think you're better than both of those teams. So the fact that Miami's already below both of them and has now added on not just a second loss, but a second loss to a team who, isn't sniffing the playoffs, I think we could be seeing at a pretty big drop that would give Alabama and South Carolina fans some hope. Because I think where they were this past week and who they were behind can be very telling of what the committee thinks of them.
Go ahead. D-Dubs, you had a statement. Yeah, go ahead. Of course.
No, we're good, man. I'm just thinking so many scenarios here, man, how this thing could play out, man. But
telling you, it's gonna be crazy tomorrow.
yeah.
Tomorrow's gonna tell us a lot about what really is at stake this weekend in conference championship week.
Yes.
Gotcha. Angry One, what you got for us, or anything, and I'll move on to the games. Eric, can you hear us, or is he frozen? Eric look like he's frozen. I think he's frozen in time.
Yeah,
okay, I'll catch him on the next one. Go ahead, Danté.
Not to keep adding on to this, but just to make one more point here. I'm glad that you brought up the conference games, because that's another deciding factor in this week, right? Is we also have to future-proof our rankings for people to move up, depending on who loses this conference weekend. We got to make it easier on ourselves, fellas. You know what I'm saying? That's what that conversation is going to be like. Right. Is if Georgia loses, somebody's got to get in. Is it going to be Ole Miss, Alabama, or South Carolina? Somebody's got to move up because they weren't in the championship, and one of those teams, all those teams played Alabama hard. So what are we going to do to justify that one of these guys moves up? Like, I would, whoever signed up to be under the committee this year, they're probably kicking themselves in the nuts right now for just these last 2 days. They're like, damn, we didn't sign up for this. There's a lot on their shoulders, man. Yeah. And after this weekend, if they screw this up, people are going to be sending them death threats. So that's just how fans are. They're going to be on Twitter in their DMs. I would just say sign off of social media for this week, man, until things play out. So.
Yeah. This goes back to what we're saying. Go to the computers, man. It's hard to get death threats to the computer. Nobody cares. But
yeah, they go after the IT guys then.
Yeah, the IT, yeah. What you said, DA?
Hey, it's okay. Yeah, we're used to it. We're used to it. We're used to it. That's fine. Everybody hates us anyway, so it's all great.
Got you. Let me move on to the Michigan and Ohio State game. That game was 13-10. Michigan 7-5. Ohio State's 10-2, as we said. And I'll just kick it to the fellas. If you watch this game, and I watched it, Ohio State had opportunities to win this game. And I talked to a Michigan alumni. He's a very good friend of mine. He does not want to be named. He played with the University of Michigan, and he says, and probably a lot of people do know this, hey, this is the only game where you better win, where we want to win, where we're out there to kick Ohio State's ass. And it's the same vice versa.
The fan base don't care about nothing else, man, but beating Ohio State, man. You could do whatever else throughout the whole year. But when it comes to Ohio State, you better get the job done.
They got to beat ass. Yeah.
They got to beat that ass. And you know what? It says, I know, Kev, you didn't get to the game yet, but I go to my hot seat. What's the word?
Ryan Day.
Yeah,
Ryan Day.
Yeah. He's on the hot seat, man. I mean, his seat is sizzling, man. I'm surprised, man, that it hasn't come down yet, but yeah, we'll see.
I remember when Jim Tressel got fired after losing to Michigan and he was undefeated the whole season?
Yes.
Yep.
How's this not happening to Ryan Day? That's ridiculous.
I don't know. He got pictures of somebody. I don't know.
You lost against Oregon too. It's about time to be out of here, buddy. Because you can even justify it like this, D-Dubs. How the hell you lose to Oregon? They was in the Pac-12 last year where they historically have had bad defenses, and you let them come. You go into their house and lose, and then you lose against Michigan at home. Yeah,
At
it's
home.
about time for you to go, bro. We'll
Yeah.
we'll give you your walking papers and send you on
They're
a
just not-
all inclusive trip to Mexico on the Spirit Airlines flight. We'll see you later, man.
Man, you put him on Spirit, though. God damn.
Listen, I heard this.
You know that's
stat
what they
is
did to
going-
Herman Edwards. They did that to Herman Edwards. Did y'all see that picture?
No,
They sent
Yes,
him
I
on
did.
a Spirit Airlines flight back home.
Arizona, that's some nasty work.
That's nasty work.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I heard a stat earlier.
They didn't like
about-
I don't
Yeah.
know what Herm did, but they didn't like him.
Yeah, I heard a stat earlier about Ryan Day, how he's like 40-1, like the rest of the time, but he's in the last 4 years, he's 0-4, and
0-4.
that ain't
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Dante, I'll give it to you guys.
Them in the last,
Yeah, your thoughts on this
They
game,
threw
real quick.
LSU just because
Yeah.
he couldn't beat Saban. So
Yeah, I mean, these are the implications around this game are fireable offenses if you lose them because of it's the greatest game. It's the greatest rivalry right now. It's number one. Until Texas A&M and Texas get to where they need to get to, and you saw a little bit of glimpses of how great that game can be. Like Texas A&M was literally one great wide receiver and quarterback away from beating Texas, literally, and they let their best one go to Oregon and Evan Stewart. So, you know, it's crazy. Like that rivalry is going to be good because both of those coaches are good too. But as far as like the Michigan side, the way it relates to this is like this being the biggest rivalry game and Ryan Day not beating this Michigan team this year. It was like there was no better team, no better Michigan team for you to justifiably go in there and kick their ass this week, and you didn't. And this is the highest paid roster that we've seen in college football to date. Quinshon Judkins had under 50 yards. Travion Henderson had under 20 yards. Yep. You had the best wide receiving core that any team in the country has. And you didn't draw anything up for Will Howard to respond back from throwing that ugly interception earlier. It's nasty work, man. Their defense played their ass off, though. I don't know what else you could ask from Ohio State's defense. And I know that they got a lot of heat. I know that they did. But Jim Knowles is there to stay, man. That was one of the best hires of all time as far as defensive coordinators, from him coming to Oklahoma State, going to Ohio State. Yeah. But one thing that like a lot of people didn't really watch this game, but want to make the implications that like Will Howard and the rest of these dudes are trash. The really and truly, Michigan came with the game plan of like, we're going to beat you up front with our two NFL defensive linemen. Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham are 2 first-round picks in this coming draft. Those dudes are legit, and that's why they were able to stop the run. And they put so much pressure on Will Howard to get things done that Chip Kelly didn't even know what to do. It was just too much for him to handle. And in a rivalry game, it doesn't matter what their records are. Let's say if they're and both these teams, if they were 0-11 going into this game, everybody's still going to have their eyeballs on it. They're going to put their best game plans going into this game, right? So I think just really up front, them missing their starting center, they're missing their starting left tackle. They had another backup offensive lineman that's supposed to step in next year and be a great piece. They're missing him. This was just an old school, rough and tough, our front seven against your defensive lineman. Let's see who's going to win the battle. And unfortunately, Michigan came in and won. And this is a low-scoring game. It wasn't like Michigan came in and kicked our ass. Yeah. That is the biggest misconception. This was really a chess match, man. And, Sharon Moore gets to keep his job for another year because of this. Like, the implications were just that. Is Ryan Day really on the hot seat and going to get fired because of this, or is Sharon Moore going to keep his job? And it's almost like what they say, like when a baby is born, somebody probably died, right? Somebody takes over for that position. And that really was like the implications for this. It was like Sharon Moore kept his job, and Ryan Day, if he ain't getting fired after they take another loss or whatever they do, then I don't know what. Yeah, like you said, D-Dubs, he's got pictures of somebody. He, there's some illegal activities going on with Ohio State where he's got somebody's number right now. And for God's sakes, Ryan Day, man, stop wearing makeup, dog. We could tell you got the Beijing and everything. Like, this is outrageous at this point.
Hey, man, let the gray show, bro. Let the gray show.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? It's outrageous at this point.
Yeah.
DA, you have something? Go ahead, Khalid. I'm sorry. We'll get to you, DA.
Oh, no. Yeah, you go ahead.
Now, I was just saying that, go ahead, Kelly. Go ahead, man.
All right. Well, I guess just my take here on the Ohio State, Ryan Day situation is, his job is under scrutiny now, right? Mm-hmm. People want him fired. Some people want him to stay. He has that record that you just posted earlier, his record against the Big Ten, record against ranked teams, and then you have record against Michigan, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a night and day difference, right? Michigan, he can't beat your main rival. Now, I realize that game means a lot, right? But let's look at why that was so important and why that was a fireable offense these last few years, right? It's because you were in the same division as Michigan, and you were both good. So if you lost to Michigan, you're not going to the Big Ten championship, right? As long as Michigan is a decent team or Penn State is a good team, right? So that game, also, regardless of what it meant for the Big Ten championship game, if you lose that game, you are probably out of a 4-team playoff, right? If you lose that game, if you lose the game, you're not competing for a national championship. And so I think, right, under a 4-team playoff, losing to Michigan is a fireable offense if you are Ryan Day. Now, the fact that he made it this far,
Khalid his ass out of here.
I'm a little surprised he's made it this far, right? Because, again, I think that with the way the 4-team playoff works, losing to Michigan, that got you out of the playoffs more often than not. So, yeah, I'm surprised he's made it this far. But the goalposts have moved, in my opinion. You have a 12-team playoff now. Losing to Michigan, right, unless you're just having a down year, is not going to prevent you from competing for championships, right?
That's a great point.
And so I think just the act of losing to Michigan now isn't, or at least it shouldn't be a fireable offense. However, right, because you can still compete for a championship. However, with his track record of not being able to beat Michigan that's already been established going into the 12-team playoff and losing to Oregon this year as well, with the roster you have, if Ohio State does not make it to the semifinals, I think he should get fired at that point, right? If he doesn't make it out of if he is a first-round exit, gone. If he even loses in the quarterfinals, gone, right? Because if you beat Michigan, you could automatically be in a quarterfinal spot, playing an easier opponent. You had the inside route to the number 5 seed to play Arizona State and Boise State. The most desirable path to a semifinal imaginable. But losing to Michigan cost you that spot, right? So I don't think that just losing to Michigan anymore is a fireable offense. However, Ryan Day, if you don't get your act together and win your next 2 games, the first 2 in the playoffs, I think that is reason for Ohio State brass to send him on his way. Because your goal should be to win championships, not to beat Michigan, right? Now, oftentimes, beating Michigan is required to compete for championships, but with the 12-team playoff now, it's not. I don't really know what I think about that. Yeah. I don't really like it, but that's just the reality, right? Is you can't afford to lose to Michigan and still compete for playoffs and for championships. So that's my take. I get that it's a rivalry, and you really, like Danté said, you should not be losing to this Michigan team. This was like – I thought it was going to be
this was a layup.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a 20-point win for Ohio State, right? Like this should have been a walk in the park.
Yeah, but I did not expect them to lose to Michigan. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, to add on to that, man, like
the reality is.
Go ahead, Danté, DA, and then you'll go next.
Yeah. To add insult to injury for this is you got 2 5-star running backs, and they looked bad. Regardless of what the offensive line situation was like, we were talking about Quinshon Judkins being one of them ones when he went out to Ohio State. Like
a real one.
And then Travion Henderson, we were like, if he could just stay healthy, this is Sonic and Knuckles like we're seeing with the Lions right now. Like literally.
Putrid.
And they couldn't do Nothing. Jack squat.
Judkins, 12 carries, 46 yards. His longest was the 17. Travion Henderson, 10 for 21. 10 carries, 21 yards, 5 yards long. I mean,
these guys are averaging 120 yards a game together.
Yeah. Coach Day said he didn't have, according to his press conference, and I watched it, I was like, he didn't have no answers. He really didn't know why that these guys could not get off. But he credited Michigan for, their play, for how they came and played. But go ahead.
If you're old enough, D, if you're old enough, Ohio State has lost. It's almost like a time warp. That's 10 years. When what's his name? Shoelaces, no shoelaces was there, and they beat them. All it was running the ball and playing defense.
Oh, Denard Robinson.
Michigan doesn't have another trick. Yeah, when Denard was there, what did he do? He ran the ball and they won. And that coach was an absolute abject failure. And
Brady Hoke.
So it's just Ohio State. Yeah, Brady Hoke was horrible. He was an abject failure. And the reality is they still beat Ohio State. They still you recruit the type of players to beat Michigan, or get there healthy, because I think they got them, but they weren't healthy. But it's no excuse, man. This is football. And the college that can block. Well, you better find somebody that can block. Because you're done. You're done against this team. Every time you play them, it's the same freaking game. Mm-hmm. Same game. He keeps the job, but let's know that if he loses this game, they would have fired him this year. Right? He might not have got. He would have got the Herm. He would have got the Herm.
Spirit Airlines.
I'm happy, but I still don't think either one of those teams. Man, I'm an iron sharpens iron guy, so I always get really see you beating anybody, in a big game, because even though each game is this individual chess match and everything else. The reality is you haven't played anybody all year, so I don't believe that you have it in you to do it, because it does take some fortitude to win these big games. So that's why I think South Carolina can do some things, because they've been on the cusp. You also got the other hand is a dude like Milroe. You get them in a big game, it's gonna be hard to beat that cat. Just don't throw Milroe. Run. Okay, national championship. So, he'll be out if they don't win the championship.
Gotcha. Yeah. Anything else before we go? Go ahead, Danté.
That's my thing. I'm trying to figure out what they do with the third team.
Yep. I'm very curious on that too, man. I don't know. I think this all came down to coaching for me. I mean, I don't know how you don't account for that Michigan's going to come in there and tear your head off worse than any other team that they played. Like, this is the one game on their schedule, regardless if they played, Little Sisters of the Blind this year, they were going to come with all the firepower and the fury with your team, and this is the last game. And a lot of those guys, this is their last time. Like, they realize that, like, this is the last game that we can showcase what we got. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, they just solidified that they're two, if not, I don't know if people are going to take a flyer on them in the first round, both of them, but they really solidified that, like, we are first-round picks to a lot of teams after today's game. Regardless of what happened, regardless of the situation with Ohio State, because now NFL scouts are going to be looking at the fact that they can come in there and they can compete in the biggest moments, even when their team doesn't look that hot. They can still be the bright spots. And I would have wondered what it would have looked like. They have the number one corner on their team that they were missing this week. Nobody really highlights that. Will Johnson wasn't there. So what was one interception could have been 3 if he was there. With the way that Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham were playing, because they always say a cornerback's best friend is a defensive line that can put pressure on the quarterback. And Will Johnson is one of the ones, man. And he wasn't able to showcase what he had this weekend. It could have got real ugly. I think if the score was worse and he was in that game, Ryan Day might not have been here with us today, brother. It's like I think he would have got his walking papers this morning.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, can you hear me? Go ahead. Hold on, D.
Come on, man. Put an extra tight end in.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, you can hear. Hey, what you think about this Michigan and Ohio State going on?
Hell, man, I'm gonna say this, man. The NFL is quite different from college football. Just the other week, I was saying how divisional games, you really don't have upset. And I'm not gonna say Michigan, this was an upset. To the masses, yeah, this was an upset, but to me, it wasn't, because
I agree.
Like Danté just said, man. Yo, man, when you're the most hated rival, when you're the most hated team to a program, they are gonna go regardless if they're 2-8, playing for a national championship, whatever the case may be. They're coming for your neck, and you better bring your A game on that day, regardless of where it's being played at. You got to get up for it. And for Ohio State to play the way that they played, regardless of who was available, yeah, this was a bad look for me, just for me. But hell, man, kudos to Michigan, man. I mean, they still found a way to beat Ohio State, regardless of what the remnants of the season was, man. So, hey, and a couple of years ago, I'll say maybe 8 years ago, this was a Michigan problem. Michigan with Harbaugh could not beat Ohio State for like 2, 3, 4 years straight, and then he finally turned it around. So it is what it is, man. Good win for Michigan. Ohio State, I'm sure they will be in the playoffs, but yeah, they miss a lot of opportunities out there on that field.
Yeah, to add to that, man, the rivalry thing, exactly what you said is, and I agree with 100%. I can't look at a rivalry game as an upset, because we've seen it too many times over the years that like people are like, well, they should have won against them, but it's like, remember when Alabama lost against Auburn, about 7 years ago, and they shouldn't have lost that game, and it came down to them, the missed kick that got ran back for a touchdown. And everybody's like, well, how did that happen, bro? But Alabama was supposed to beat the dog shit out of them, and then it didn't happen. But on the other side of that, too, is if rivalries weren't such a big thing, college football this specific weekend has told you that Arizona sucked this year and Arizona State is good, and they were getting in fights. Michigan, Ohio State were getting in fights. Florida and Florida State. Florida's a better team this year, and Florida State sucked. They were getting in fights. So you can't measure rivalry games like you can everything else. It's different, man. And for a lot of people that haven't played in a rivalry game, y'all really need to shut up, because y'all don't. It's just you don't know what it is to be disrespected, not only at home, but in a rivalry game where everybody's counting you out because of your record, because coaches and everything are coming into that game playing that week a little different than any other game that they had this season. And this was the last week of their season too, so they was emptying the clip, because a lot of these teams ain't playing for nothing else. Arizona
been not playing the flag in the opposing team's field. That's gonna really start some shit.
No
up
flags.
Like
Yeah. I love it.
I can see that being a rule.
That's something like
I love every bit of it, though.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking like, okay,
Go ahead, DA.
Chip Kelly, offensive guru, add another tight end, get some help. Right, your line's not right. Change personnel packages. You got to have one with 2 tights. Right? You just got to have someone else blocking. It's not that hard, guys. it's or guys just being dumb. But
Ohio State fans told me all year that G. Scott
It's a
Jr.
little
was going to
much.
be better than Cade Stover. And I sat there and I said that y'all was a bold-faced lie for thinking that y'all think that G. Scott was going to be better than Cade Stover. Remember, Khalid, we got shit for this, man. And Cade Stover was a beast last year, and they severely missed him this year. They really needed somebody else to come in there as a third tackle because G. Scott Jr. wasn't it. He's a pure catching tight end, and he sometimes sucks at that too. He'll drop the easiest pass in the world. Yeah, I agree with you there. 12 personnel is the way to go in college. It just is what it is at this point.
Got you. Let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next game that we want to talk about. We alluded to it earlier. The Syracuse and Miami game. Shout out to Coach Brown with Syracuse, man. They got the job done, 42-38. Hey, I wanted to point one thing, Cristobal. Why not go for it on fourth down there? Why not go for it? What would you think is his thought process? I'll give it to Danté and Kelli. Go ahead, guys.
I don't know. I mean, and Cristobal, he's been. Let's be honest. Over his career, he's been known to make the most boneheaded decisions and the most questionable calls for out of any coach in college football. He has a rap sheet going back to when he was at Oregon, man. I mean, it hasn't been good. And you were under a coach in Nick Saban that has been historically known to make the right decisions. So what is this going against the grain as a head coach this far in your tenure and making dumb play call, dumb decision after dumb decision, not calling a timeout when you should have called timeout? Like, I get it, man. He's a recruiting master, and I've been on the Mario Cristobal train. I knew he was going to turn that program around, and I'm glad that I was proven right there. But God, man, the play calling for Miami, the slant routes, they led the league all year in yards after catch as a unit. Cam Ward is not that good. I've been saying this all year long. Throw a slant to Xavier Restrepo. Oh, he gets 60 yards. Throw a 5-yard curl to Jacoby George. He turns it upfield for about 40 yards. This is how it's been all season. But when people see the highlight, he's throwing one pass in the back of the end zone that he did all game long, and people think he's, terrific. Their defense was very, very, very vanilla. And Fran Brown, he knows what to do to stop them. Georgia's when he was there, they knew how to stop every single offense, and that's why they won 2 national championships. One of his best buddies is Dan Lannon, and you see what he's doing up there with Oregon right now. Like, it's not going to take them long for them to figure out the repetitive nature of some coaches, and that's exactly what happened. They shut down the slant routes, and they kept their pressure, and they used their weapons, and they went back to the guys that maybe drop passes. Like Jackson Meeks had a really bad drop early in the game, and then he started turning it up from there. And that dude's hand was hurt the whole game because, remember, he fell down awkwardly in like the second quarter, but he was catching everything. But one thing I want to give credit for Fran Brown, man, and this is no slight to any other coach in the country, and he's going to recruit he's from New Jersey. He's going to recruit his ass off now after this win. Like, he won over a lot of recruits in Syracuse. He's about to turn them around. But one thing I'll give Fran Brown credit for is I've never seen this year a coach that coaches his coordinators like he coaches his players. Like, he's getting in his coordinators' faces like the whole game. I love that. Like, I absolutely love that because he's like, we're going to win. Syracuse has been known to be a basketball school. We about to turn this to a football school real quick. And he got them dudes turned around. I'm excited to – I told my wife on the phone, we're used to going up to Syracuse to go watch them in Florida State play. And Florida State's been smacking them ever since they joined in the ACC. But I'm scared the next time Florida State comes into the dome, man. Like, that's going to be a good game. But I want to see a good game from Syracuse. And I want to see these bad teams that have been historically bad and starting to turn their season around. Like, Indiana's been amazing to watch this year. And you obviously have to throw Illinois in there now. You obviously have to throw Syracuse in there now. And I was telling Khalid this a couple weeks ago. I said, man, if somebody woke you up and you were in a coma for the last 5 years and you told them that Illinois, Army, Navy, Syracuse, all these teams are actually good, you probably think I was lying. But great coaches are great coaches, and they coach their coordinators and they coach their players, and you could tell he cares about and not in the fact that no coach cares about his kids, but like it's different. It was just a little different when I was watching him on the sideline coach this weekend. How many people have you seen? How many coaches in the NFL and in the country you see the camera point over to them and they're barely talking outside of them calling plays, barely talking. He's talking the whole time, walking up and down the sideline. I'm like, this dude's different, man. Whatever, communication is key, and I bet you he's got that in his office somewhere. Like, we gonna communicate until our heads fall off. Our left hand has to know what our right hand is doing at all times, and I believe that's why they won this game. He was like, okay, you got to call this play. I don't care. I'm superseding this, or you got to be in this defensive formation. I'm superseding that call because this is ridiculous. We're getting attacked and getting beat, and they weren't getting beat like that, man. It was definitely a chess match because they should have got their ass kicked. By the way that Miami was playing this year, they should have got their butts kicked. And I love when teams like this mess up people's parlays. And Khalid knows I was the only person to pick Syracuse this week. I cashed in $300. I said, hell yeah. Yeah, I just knew that they were going to stop him, man. I don't know. Fran Brown is different. And the way that he's turned Syracuse around, I can't say enough good things about that dude, man. I didn't believe it first, but I'm a believer now. He's exactly what Coach Prime should have did at Colorado last year, but Coach Prime gets the praise. Fran Brown should be getting a lot more praise than Coach Prime at this point, in my opinion, for the way that he turned the program around in 1 year. It only took him 1 year, in season too.
Let me just say this. Get back to the original point you were saying. Yeah, shout out to Coach Brown. Like I said earlier, man, he's done a phenomenal job. And most old heads think that Syracuse is a basketball school. Jim Boeheim and Mello and all them boys, right? But how he is did, man, is phenomenal. But like I said about Coach Cristobal, and you're probably going to make a lot of my folks down here in South Florida mad, but I don't care because the truth is the light, right? And you didn't go for it on fourth down. You haven't stopped them all day. Why don't you go for it? So that's what I want to do. You have. Then we'll go to something. Then we'll go to. Yeah, you had something.
No, I was just gonna say,
Coach Brown just has a real good. He has a real good pedigree.
Gotcha. Go ahead, E.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, man, Miami ain't stopped nobody all year, and it caught up with them. If you're not putting up more points than the other team, this is what's going to happen every day. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It doesn't matter. Is the U back? That's my question. Is the U back? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Well, sounds like some Dallas Cowboy shit. That's what they say every year. Hey, Cowboys are back.
I don't think they're back. They're about to lose Jacoby George, Xavier Restrepo, Damian Martinez, and Cam Ward all to the draft.
And Elijah Arroyo.
Elijah Arroyo too. We're gonna see him down at the Senior Bowl.
Oh yeah,
man, that's a big blow. They about to experience something like Florida State did.
And with all of that talent on the offensive side of the ball, I think that makes the field goal decision even more inexplicable. Like how do you rationally come to the decision to kick a field goal when you're on the doorstep, right? If it was fourth down from the 20 or the 30, sure, kick the field goal, right? But you're on the doorstep. You're on the 10-yard line, and you have a quarterback who statistically is playing like one of the best in the country. You have a receiver in Xavier Restrepo, who's the best receiver in Miami's history.
Nice.
One of the best receivers in the country who's catching 75% of the footballs that come his way up to 9 yards downfield. You also have an excellent tight end in Elijah Arroyo, who is catching 83% of the passes going his way up to 9 yards downfield. So you have two guys in that short yardage situation who are money. And you have a great quarterback who, despite the defense's flaws, has been able to put up points week in and week out. And then you have a defense who has not stopped Syracuse all day. Why would you take the ball out of your quarterback's hands? Why would you take the ball out of the hands of the strength of your team, which is the offense? Why would you kick the field goal and ask your defense to make a stop when they haven't been able to do that all game long? It doesn't make any sense. And this is coming from Mario Cristobal, who is a former offensive coordinator, offensive line coach. This is an offensive guy. And he made that call? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, no.
This is up there with the decision to run the ball against Georgia Tech last year instead of kneeling it, right? That was coaching malpractice. This, maybe not as bad, but this is still up there because it doesn't make any sense. You can say, I want to trust my defense. Boy, your defense hasn't given you any reason for you to trust them all game long, all season long. What are you doing? Like, seriously.
This is the coach that, you know, I'm smarter than the room. I'm smarter than everybody else. And yeah, I'm going to show you guys what I could do. And you see, there you go.
I like that term. Hold on.
I think it's okay.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
No, I think it's like the question I just asked. Is the U back? I think he started hearing those questions. Oh, the U is back, and he crumbled under pressure with his coaching. I'm standing on that one because no other time, the U has been steadily getting back into this light, and obviously he was playing not to lose, and they lost.
I think what happened was, Michael Irvin was at the game, right? I think at the end of that game, when the receivers were not stepping up to the plate, they was looking at Michael Irvin like, weren't you at Syracuse weren't you at Colorado this summer helping them out? Nah, we about to throw the game now. We forgot about that. They had flashbacks to them videos of him being at Colorado helping them dudes out.
Oh yeah.
People don't forget. Khalil, I like that term you use, coaching malpractice, man. I'm gonna have to take that from you, man. I like that, man, because I was like, and you go back to the Georgia Tech game last year, and I was like, man, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Why are you? I don't know.
Even his players on the sideline, they're like, what the F are we doing? The one dude, I forgot what the kid's name was, but he was like, what the F are we doing? And he saw him on the sideline say that.
That's how you lose a locker room. I mean, last year,
he transferred too. That's funny. The kid transferred.
Miami lost not only you lose some of the locker room, but you also lose recruits that way. Why would you want to play for a coach who does stuff like that? Texas A&M, right? We dipped into the state of Florida, capitalizing on Miami's lack of success last year, on Florida's lack of success. Even just today, the University of Florida, as hot as they are right now, just flipped a recruit from the University of Miami. Because why would you want to play for a coach who makes decisions like that? Why?
Bad decisions.
It does not make any sense. I want to hear his explanation just because, I want to hear his side of things. But it is so hard to look at the way the game was going and the guys you have on offense. Man, it's going to take a miracle for me to be like, oh, yeah, he made the right decision because he didn't.
Flat out.
That's deep. DA, did you have something on Miami? And
I told you.
Syracuse.
6 weeks ago I told y'all 6 weeks ago they weren't going to make it, right? And they're not going to make it. That's it. There you go.
Yes.
Proven right.
Yes, you just said that. You and Ryan had that. Yeah, you and Ryan had that going on. Yep. You absolutely did, man.
I told him.
Let me move on real quick.
I told him.
Yeah, go ahead. Gotcha. Let me move on real quick. We know South Carolina and Clemson won that game. South Carolina won that game. Before we move on to the pros, Danté and Kelli, your thoughts on this game? And we talked about how South Carolina, how they're going to be. They're basically on the bubble and what they would need to get help. But your thoughts on this game, real quick, before we move on to the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina. Again, for whatever reason, this is the team that we've watched. I mean, personally, me and Khalid and the rest of us, we watched them more than probably any other team together this year. And just like, if they lost the game, we were like, damn, they should have won. And if they won a game, we were like, damn, they're impressive. So, we're really big fans of even the guys that don't get talked about, that didn't get talked about all season, that getting talked about now, like Nico Manwari at safety. is one of them ones, man. He might be the best safety in this class when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
I know people are not going to say this. They're going to look at, a lot of these other guys, Malachi Starks, Malachi Moore, the rest of these guys. But, like, Nickel Man Warrior is not only fast, he's got the size, he can lay the boom, he's a ball hawk. He
can do it all.
To me, he reminds me, and this is high praise for him, but, like, I haven't seen a safety like him since Kyle Hamilton. And he's bigger. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? I think he's one of them ones, man. But outside of that, I think the game planning for their team is the only thing that's held them behind this season. And I think it's just because Lenore Sellers wasn't healthy. It's his first year. They were, he got injured a couple times. Raheem Sanders didn't. We're fans of Raheem Sanders, but some games he didn't step up to the plate like he needed to. Obviously, they're a little deficient in their wide receiving core. Nick Harbor's still trying to get in his zone. People are trying to figure out if he's going to be a tight end or a wide receiver. But, like, a lot of their problems are going to be fixed here next year or the year after into them being a superstar team. Their recruiting class is shaping up. They're flipping some recruits over from Clemson to come over their team. Like a couple 3-stars, like in the last month, have come over to their squad. So I think right now, and especially in that game, it was kind of the same thing. I'll kind of tighten the screws because there was a couple fumbles that had happened during the game where we were just like, dang. But they were just like stuff like the ball just getting punched out and the guy being right there at the right time. I mean, Clemson had a couple of those mistakes too, right? But I think the youth of this team has been their blessing and their curse this year, literally and truly. That's all that has been. So, I mean, going against Clemson, you got Kay Klubnik, who's been playing out of his mind. Antonio Williams was playing really good. Bryant Wesco Jr., who's a freshman that, me and Khalid were very, very high on as well. He was going a little crazy. And Phil Maffa filling in for, not having this 1-2 punch from last year, and Will Shipley. And then their defense has been, like, which is weird, them being pretty deficient this year, not like they have been in previous years, right? They're not the defense of what we've known Clemson to be, but I was happy for him. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the interview after. Shane Beamer was pretty much in tears, man, because he was like,
yes.
Yeah,
he was like, I'm super proud of these guys and what they've done. They've dealt through adversity. They had a tough ass schedule this year, and Lenore Sellers is an absolute superstar, man. I said that he's the next Cam Newton. I said that in a couple years he's going to win the Heisman if he keeps on this trajectory. And I know there was a comment earlier that says he can't throw. I totally disagree with that. I think, is he inconsistent? Yeah, it's because he's a freshman. But he's looked like the best freshman this year when he's been in the game. Yeah. And the thing about Lenore is that, unlike other safeties in the country, when the spot is very bright, is when he turns up the most. I mean, think about some of those plays that he just got out of a sack and turned a 10-yard, what should have been a sack, into like a 30-yard run.
Right.
And getting his team, and on a third down too, and getting his team in position to score. I don't know, man. I'm super impressed by South Carolina. They've been super fun to watch. They got a super youthful team. And I might have to make a bold take next year, depending on some of the moves. There's going to be a lot of transfer portal guys that come over there. I'm telling you right now. And, if they can get Eric Rivers from FIU, who just entered the transfer portal, who's top 5 in receiving yards, like Khalid knows that he's one of them ones. If he goes to South Carolina, Lenore Sellers is going to be a happy camper for a very long time because he's got something he wants to prove too. So, depending on everything shakes out, man, I think they might be a dark horse to win the SEC next year, to be completely honest. I think they're that good of a damn team after this.
I think
so. You're right about the dude from FIU. I'm down here in South Florida, and I believe they're going to
Eric Rivers.
Yeah,
bro, he's one of them ones. He's one of them ones. I didn't know about his game till like week 5, and I was telling them, I was like, yo, y'all seen Eric Rivers, man? He's one of them ones. And he entered the transfer portal. I was like, good for him. Good for him. Because he's going to be a hot commodity in the transfer portal.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
He can do it.
Go ahead, DA. And then we'll get Khalid, and then we'll move on to the NFL.
He can play. I was just saying he can play.
No, go ahead.
think we got a delay.
No,
No, he said he's a good player.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, dude, I can't say enough about Lenore Sellers. Unfortunately, right, he really got hot starting against my Aggies in Columbia, that 44-20 win. That's when it really started to take off, right? Because you had a couple losses coming out of that loss against Alabama, a narrow one too. You beat Oklahoma, then you beat a top 10 team at home, and that momentum is carried on throughout the rest of the season. And yeah, Sellers averaging 10 yards a pop on the ground against a defense like Clemson, and he literally put this team on his back. The way he plays, the way he extends plays in the pocket, the way he takes off with his legs, breaking tackles, right? It's not just like he's making guys miss. Man, he's going through contact. Like he's literally
Cam
built
Newton.
different. There aren't many quarterbacks
basically.
who have graced the college football game who can say that they have done some of the things that Lenore Sellers has already done in 1 year of starting, right? Danté, you talked about the youth of this team, the youth of Lenore Sellers, and let's not even just not just the youth of this team, but the inexperience on offense. Let's talk about who they lost, right? Spencer Rattler, multi-year starter, former 5-star, right? Out at quarterback. At receiver, right? You lose Xavier Leggett, right? Who I think was a first-round pick. You lose him, and then you have Mario Anderson, who is an experienced running back who transferred in, and then after 1 year, he transfers out. Mario Anderson is killing it at Memphis. If y'all know who he is, like anyone, like you're listening, go look up Mario Anderson. He is a dog. You have to replace all of that returning production. The only skill position player, starter, who's returning, tight end Josh Simon, who does lead the team in receiving yards. So you have to have Lenore Sellers, a redshirt freshman, step up. You need to have transfer Raheem Sanders not only step up in a new scheme and a new offense, but regain his form after a down year at Arkansas the year before. And then you're asking guys like Nick Harbor, a former 5-star, to actually have, an increased role. You're asking true freshman Mazeo Bennett Jr. to have an increased role as a freshman. And they're out here doing
and transfer Gage Larvindane from Miami of Ohio. Smaller guy.
You're looking at a whole new offense, a lot of new guys. What they've done is so impressive, but also on the defensive side, man, South Carolina has the number 14 scoring defense in the country. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card this year. South Carolina having the defense that they have. Tonka Hemingway, DJ Sanders, right? Kyle Kennard. I mean, you have on the defensive line Dylan Stewart too. And then you have Jalen Kilgore and Nicky Mamordi in the back end of the defense. I mean, you
can tell we've been watching them this year, fellas. So we know all their names.
I mean,
just a little bit.
I mean, you have this South Carolina.
We love them, man.
It's so impressive the way they beat Clemson, because you look at the way they beat A&M, right? They got out hot out of the gate, right? Big lead, and then they crushed the Aggies out of halftime as well. This game was a little different, right? You go behind, early on in the second quarter after a dogfight, a lot of turnovers on downs in the first quarter, a lot of turnovers. Then you tie it up. You get behind in the third, nothing happens. And the fourth quarter, your defense not only pitches the shutout, but you're able to put up 10 points on offense for the win. They faced adversity. They responded. They've won in all sorts of ways. They've won in blowouts, and they've won in close games on the road, right? In a rivalry game. I mean, that says a lot about a team, is how do they respond to adversity, right? Just like Coach Beamer was saying, when you're punched in the mouth, what's your response? And they responded in a great way. This is the sign of a good team right here, right? Is you don't want to just blow people out. You want to be able to show that, hey, we respond to adversity well. We're tough. When the going gets tough, we're tougher. And the other thing I want to point out too is they learn from their mistakes, right? This is a team who, they lost to Bama by 2. They lost to LSU by 3. They did not. The mistakes they made in those games, they did not make again down the stretch. They ended the season with 6 straight wins, 3 of them being against ranked teams, and Texas A&M and Clemson were both in the top 12. So they beat 2 teams who were eyeing playoff spots. South Carolina took them down. I don't have much else to say other than South Carolina. You have my respect, and like Danté said, dark horse next year for the SEC. You got to remember they have the same exact schedule of SEC teams next year. So they're going to have LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, OU, A&M, Vanderbilt, Missouri. They beat half of those teams already. They only lost to Alabama by 2, and they have them at home next year. They play Alabama at home, right? Then you travel to LSU and Ole Miss, but this team could be dangerous. I really like Lenore Sellers in this offense, but they're all going to be growing together. And if they can go out there and get another piece and then reload on defense, this is going to be a scary team once again because they got grit. That's something, you recruit talent, right? That's what you look for whenever you're recruiting these guys out of high school. You're looking for talent and the right characteristics to fit in the culture. But Beamer has them like rallied around each other, and they're so gritty, man. I love the resilience they have. It was on full display this past week.
Nah, definitely. South Carolina's been doing their thing, and like I say, they've definitely been doing their thing. So, shout out to them, and hey, hopefully my hat will be in the mail here soon. Let me move on to the. Maybe not. Let me move on to the pros. Danté, we're going to talk about your Jacksonville Jaguars. They lost to the Texans on yesterday, 23-20. Let me ask you a question. When you was on when you gave us your picks before about your team, what has happened to your Jaguars? And then we'll get into the whole Trevor Lawrence thing. Your thoughts on that and what happened? What's going on with the Jaguars and the whole their team? Go ahead.
I think the easiest answer is to look at the injuries that we've had so far too. Like they've been pretty significant. Christian Kirk being out, you bring Gabe Davis in, he's gone now. Trevor Lawrence being out. We had a couple injuries on the defense, but also I think even the bigger issue is like a lot of teams see through that. Like we got to get past the fact that we're injured. I mean, you can't really use injuries as an excuse because I wouldn't say outside of Trevor Lawrence, who you paid a bunch of money to, none of these guys are like superstar guys that like, I think if Justin Jefferson went down for the Vikings, right, all of us would be like, damn, what's Sam Darnold going to look like without him? Like, I don't think any of those guys are game changers. I am excited to see a guy that I've been banging the drum on, and I've hated our last 2 drafts. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, I was losing my mind. But the one pick that I did like, and I liked him in college, was Parker Washington from Penn State. He's been an actual superstar for us so far in the reps that he has been getting. But outside of that, man, I think that's really the issue is like I think Doug Peterson has completely lost the locker room. Andre Sisco had alluded to that at the beginning of the year. And it's something to be said about, what happens when Doug Peterson, was it his coordinators that were so good and the talent around him and the Eagles and why he won a Super Bowl? And is he just really that mid of a coach, And I think, you can't have a 9-8 season and an 8-9 season, then they come in. And when I had my record predictions, I said I'd be surprised if we won more than 6 games. And we're looking like we're going to hit below that. And people are like, how do you just predict that this team is going to be better? Trevor Lawrence got paid. Well, first of all, a lot of people want to say that. People want to say Trevor Lawrence handcuffed our team, but I really think the Jaguars handcuffed our team. Just like Kirk Cousins with the Vikings. They decided to accept that contract. It's not the Jaguar. It's not a Trevor Lawrence problem. And I'm not the biggest fan of Trevor Lawrence. Y'all know that as a player. I hated the fact that what happened to him yesterday is what happened, right? Like, but do I think Azeez Al-Shaair is a dirty player? I absolutely don't think that either. It was a bang move. Just like the Clemson or the Kansas Colorado thing with Shedeur Sanders. Like, I think it was just a bang play. It's is football. What it is. It's football, man. I've seen worse happen. Let's just put it like that. I mean,
oh my God. Yeah, go ahead,
Danté. But I think, the Jaguars are handcuffing themselves from their future. Now you're going to have to not only and Trevor Lawrence's contract wasn't, and I'm not a big contract guy. Like, it is what it is. Like, the money is whatever the money is. But like, Yeah, exactly. But some people take team-friendly deals like Jalen Hurts, and some people sign deals that don't really help your team out like Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence's contract is not healthy for our team over the next 4 years. And it's sad to say, but we're never going to have a superstar roster if he continues to be on this team. So the best thing you can do is do what they did with Daniel Jones. Trevor asked for your release. Thank you for your services, sir.
Ooh.
And let somebody else pick up that contract, in waivers, because somebody would. There's a team out there that's going to pick up his waivers and pick up that contract.
Yeah, Danté, you really don't like Trevor, huh?
I don't. But I've said that he was mid from the start, man. There's no way in college that Justin Fields outperformed you with his arm and the 2 times that you played in the college football playoff. And people are still hanging on the fact that he came in for Kelly Bryant at Clemson as a freshman and won. Newsflash, everybody. Kelly Bryant would have won the national championship with Clemson too. Let's stop the cap because he was not playing bad.
Yeah.
It was, I think that Dabo Swinney did not like something that Kelly Bryant did, and he shelved him and he put Trevor Lawrence in there, and Trevor Lawrence had the team around him. Like, let's think about the weapons that he had on that team. There's one guy by the name of T. Higgins that was a part of that squad. I mean, is he a pushover receiver? No. And their defenses, Dexter Lawrence was a part of those teams. And what is he doing with the Giants? So it's like, let's look at the full picture here, man.
What's that receiver? Is that a receiver, the one that plays baseball and the one that's, I forget dudes.
I don't know. But he's had a squad around him. So now you get here, and we don't even give him competition because we tell that Trevor Lawrence you're the true number one guy. There's nobody that's going to compete with you. C.J. Beathard is not moving the needle for Trevor Lawrence, and guess what? That's a Jaguars issue, right? You should never handicap a superstar player to him thinking that he's got the keys to the full village until he actually is out there proving himself. And I don't think Trevor Lawrence has proven himself up to this point to deserve that contract. So there's a combination of things. It's a complicated answer, but at this point in time, the way that Trent Baalke drafted, he should be gone. Doug Peterson should be gone from losing the locker room. The full coaching staff, going down to the positional coaches, should be gone. But I think the first one out the door should be our owner. He should sell the team. Because there's no way that your first initiative is being the Jaguars owner is saying, I'm going to build a practice facility and I want a shopping mall attached to it. The F are we doing, man? Like, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Going on.
And now we're about to build a $2.2 billion stadium, and the Jaguars have not earned that. You should build a stadium when your team earns it.
Well, at least
we have not earned that.
There, man. You're going to have a Gucci and a Prada store next door. I don't know. If that's what they care about, Gucci,
we're going to be selling Persian rugs and
all types of shit.
And Jaguars jerseys.
Yeah.
It's nasty work out here, man. Yeah, it's a complicated answer, though, man. But there's a lot of things going on, but I think it really starts at the owner and then works down from there. They've made some really bad financial decisions on top of building this new stadium. And as a Jaguars fan, it's like, man, I want to see us win before I have the nice, glamorous stadium.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't earn this, man.
Right.
If the Panthers got a new stadium, I'd be like, all right, they've been to 2 Super Bowls in their tenure, and we came in as 2 expansion teams, and all we have to show for it is 2 AFC championships that after each one of those years, we get rid of the full roster. So we reward ourselves by going to these championship games, and then we just get rid of everybody that helped us get there. Yeah, the Jaguars suck. We're probably, I wouldn't say we're the worst organization in football, but we're definitely top 3 in worst organizations. Probably in all of sports.
In trash organizations. Go ahead.
Yeah, in trash organizations. Like, in sports. Like, it's that bad. We're not good.
So a couple of us live in. I used to live in the city of Charlotte. I tell you, Dave Pepper, he's right up there with your main man down there in Jacksonville.
Dave Pepper's he's probably worse because he doesn't invest money into the team. He has the opposite problem of what Shad Khan does.
And he's been trying to fleece the city of Charlotte to build him a stadium or rebuild him a stadium, and we'll see. We'll definitely see. Eric, what's your thoughts on this? And then I'll give it to Kelli. your thoughts on the Jaguars and the Texans, or the plight of the Jaguars. You used to call hold on, I'm gonna set this up for you. E gave Trevor Lawrence the name Eric, would you say Goldilocks? That was his name.
Goldilocks, man. I mean, yo, man, at the end of the day, Jacksonville, like Dante's already said, like we've all seen with our own two eyes, Jacksonville is not a very good team. Did not expect this game to be, well, again, it's a divisional game, so of course it's going to be spirited on the field. But I really thought that the Texans, this would be a game that the Texans would come out and trying to get things and moving in the right direction on offense. Stroud had a decent game. He didn't blow anybody away by his stats, whatever. I mean, but he did have reasonable command of the game, especially in the second half. But man, and that hit. Let me just say this, man. Just for my own two eyes, the thing that made it worse in the replay was the little shoulder, the little forearm quiver or whatever. But other than that, man, the man was already crouching down, diving when Trevor went to slide. So did he need to be ejected? In my opinion, no. But this is the NFL, man. This is what we got today. So good win for the Texans. I don't know what Jacksonville is going to do, man, because what people are not talking about is this defense or the lack thereof down there in Duval County. To see what Jacksonville was just a few years ago on defense, they had dogs out there. Of course, you don't want to keep certain guys and this and that. We know the nature of the business, right? But you have not, again, another team that has not replenished what they've lost. So this is what you have down there in Jacksonville. And with Goldilocks commanding the money that he will be commanding over the next foreseeable future, I don't see how they're going to get it right unless, like Dante said, they have a whole fire sale and get rid of everybody and start from scratch.
Yeah.
Wow. Gotcha, E. Khalid, and then we'll move on.
It's hard to do with those open contracts.
What surprises me the most about the state the Jacksonville Jaguars are in right now is that you have a head coach who's won a Super Bowl in Doug Peterson, who knows the importance of the trenches. He won a Super Bowl with one of the best offensive lines in the league and one of the deepest and most productive defensive fronts in the league that year. So he's been around elite talent and elite position groups, with the big guys. And now in Jacksonville, right? It's like he hasn't learned anything. It's like he didn't want to bring that over. The trenches are very disappointing for Jacksonville. That's where it all starts, right? No matter who you play against in the game of football, right? If you are losing at the line of scrimmage on both the offensive and defensive side of the football, you are not going to win many ball games. Flat, like straight up. I don't care who your quarterback is. I don't care who your receivers are. I don't care how good your secondary is. If you're losing at the line of scrimmage, you're not going to win. It's not a sustained formula for winning. And I know you draft Trayvon Walker, right? You extend Josh Allen, but the interior and anyone behind them on the defensive edge, like, not very inspiring. The run defense is not great, right? Not many sacks from this unit either. On the offensive line, right? You rely on bringing guys in through free agency, right? You have Brandon Sheriff, you have Mitch Morse, right? But even then, they're not doing a great job at setting up the running game, right? No matter who it is, whether it's Etienne or Tank Bigsby, who's been kind of a revelation a bit, right? He's kind of surprised and almost surpassed Etienne for being the lead back in Jacksonville, but neither of them are super efficient. And then you look at Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't been playing great either. So all of the problems together are made worse with the lack of top level offensive line and defensive line play, right? Because there's not much talent on the defense, maybe outside the linebackers. I really like those guys, right? But I think that with the trenches being as weak as they are, that explains why you get bullied in so many games, right? You have some close losses, you have a couple of those wins, but you've gotten just straight up dominated in quite a few weeks this season. And for Jacksonville, Doug Peterson, I mean, he's showing some of the same signs that he showed in Philadelphia near the end of his time, not running the football enough. Right?
It's almost reminiscent of
losing the locker room, like a lack of physicality or seemingly like a lack of investment in what's going on with the team. It all just seems to be going wrong, and history is doomed to repeat itself, right? I mean, Philadelphia was set up probably much better than Jacksonville was, right? Just in terms of their roster makeup. But the same thing is kind of happening, and now Jacksonville doesn't have the same, they don't have the same framework of the roster, which starts with the offensive and defensive line that Philadelphia had. Philadelphia could bank on that, right? Whoever you had back there at quarterback, right? They would at least have a good offensive line, right? No matter how bad your secondary was, no matter how little money you invested in your linebackers, right? You always had an elite defensive line who would generate pressure, make the rest of the defense look good. And now, in Jacksonville, Doug Peterson can't rely on the trenches. He can't, because he doesn't have the guys up there.
Yep.
So don't worry about it, Khalil. He's going to be going anyway.
Yeah, he's got to. But I mean,
that's what's yourself upset or worked up. He's gone.
That's what's wrong with this team, right? Is I don't think that they're built the right way. You can keep on drafting, wide receivers trying to help set up Trevor Lawrence, but when you don't have the keys to actually win games and help Trevor Lawrence, stay on his feet and whatnot, you're not going to win games no matter how many wide receivers you have. You can draft, wide receivers with every single draft pick next year, and you're not going to be any better, right? Like, you got to start investing in the offensive and defensive lines more, and go for more Trayvon Walkers, right? Maybe not the exact player, but you need more guys off the edge. You need more pass rushers. You need more guys to protect the quarterback. Because without them, not going to work.
That's the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. You're not going to get me upset tonight. Nope. I'm good.
You wearing the hat, bro. I'm just saying.
Yo, listen, the Giants are doing what they're supposed to do.
Keep losing. Shout out to Saquon Barkley. Another great game, good game yesterday, man. So, as a Giant fan, I'm not mad. We're doing what we're supposed to do. Keep losing and set the people free. Let me move on to the next game. I'll start off with DA. DA, your thoughts? The Steelers and the Bengals. Russell Wilson, he throws for 414 yards and 3 TDs. Me and DA was on the phone earlier, and we was talking about the Joe Burrow effect. And DA is not fond of Joe Burrow. And we'll just start with that. Go ahead,
DA. No, bro. I'm not mad at Joe Burrow. But I know how this goes. It can be paid. Danté just said it with Jacksonville. So he got no defensive lineman, now offensive lineman. Well, there's no money. There is no money. That's why quarterbacks need to have their own salary cap. Because you can't keep 53 guys, a good 53 guys, over 1/4 of the salary for the whole team. It's impossible. It's impossible. So with that being said, you got to figure it out. So the same thing with Joe Burrow. He took the bread, and they got no defense now. He still got 2 receivers. He still got kind of a running back. And, they let Mixon go for like a song. So that's on them. But reality is, if they're paying him all the money, they can't pay anybody else, and they're going to be bad. Conversely, Pittsburgh Steelers got 2 quarterbacks for $2 million. They pay Russell $1 million. Walmart pays the rest, and Justin Field is working for Newport's and soda. So,
and he seems to be happy.
It's they can pay everybody. Every free agent they can pay. It's all good. It's simple. Russell did this with the Seahawks. When he got his paper, what happened? Legion of Boom was Legion of Gone. So, but it was just him. Him and what's 84's name?
Pickett,
the wide receiver.
Pickens,
and
George.
Lockett. It was just those three.
Yeah, Lockett.
No, on
Oh, you talking
DK
about
Metcalf?
still there.
DK Metcalf.
Oh, you
DK
talking about
Metcalf.
Seattle.
Fast. That's all he had. He won games. He won games. So you can't get mad at Russell. But he was going to take his money. Like Danté said, you can't be mad. You take the money, right? It's not your job to make sure that your front office is soluble, right? It's their job to make sure that they're. I think his contract is going to hurt his team from winning. Unless he can win with like unknown guys all around him, and can get to doing it. You know, so dudes don't want to coach no more, and get their kids better, get their rookies better, and develop them, because that's what you're going to need to do, right? Because you're already giving Joe Burrow all the money, so you can't get any other, high value free agents, and you're playing Jamar Chase, somebody in the draft, a young kid that can play, and just develop them.
Gotcha. Let me.
They're
go
going
ahead.
to need to go to Notre Dame and everywhere else to go get linemen quickly. So I said they're going to need to go to Notre Dame and these schools to get some linemen like immediately. Alabama, Georgia, nothing else. All 7 rounds, get offensive linemen.
Gotcha. Let me swing it around to Danté.
All 7 rounds. 6 rounds.
Danté, your thoughts on the Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals, man. First of all, because our Steeler guy, he's not on tonight. What was your thoughts? I'm trying to remember. What was your thoughts about the Steelers early? I think some of the moves that the Coach Tomlin has made have been pretty good. Like DA alluded to earlier, they're paying the quarterbacks only a couple $1 million, and they got some things going on. What's your thoughts on the Steelers and the Bengals? And I'll swing it to Khalid.
Yeah, I mean, we watch the Steelers a lot here because my wife's a Steelers fan naturally. So, I like the moves that they made. I mean, Tomlin, again, having a 500 season, having one of the best seasons that he's ever had so far, like really and truly, not only statistically, but what he's been doing so far with all the controversy on the team, right? Having 2 different quarterbacks, Cordero Patterson you bring in to play running back for you in that other 2-headed monster, trying to control George Pickens and his emotions.
Right.
You pick up Van Jefferson. Calvin Austin is transitioning over to be a legit receiver from a returner now. And then having all those weapons on defense, Patrick Queen's first year, and then you go and pick up Peyton Wilson in the draft, and I don't know if y'all watched the game, fully the other day, but like Cameron Hayward that game, he looked like an all-pro again. I don't know what time machine he jumped in, but he was literally the X factor in that game. I know TJ Watt gets a lot of love, but he had a couple big plays and a batted ball, and I was like, man, he's a defensive lineman. This ain't no edge rusher, outside linebacker, and he's making these type plays. So as long as they could get Joey Porter in check, man, he had 3 or 4 flags. Same stuff he did at Penn State, a little bit too handsy. And I think that he thinks he's better than a lot of receivers. And then when he gets pushed up against the wall against Jamar Chase and the rest of these guys, what is the natural instinct to do? Well, you ain't going to beat me on the route. I'm going to just grab you. So, even Deion Sanders said that I'd rather you throw the flag than them to score a touchdown. So, I mean, I get that mentality totally. But, you got to bring it back down to earth. But with the whole quarterback thing, man, I mean, I didn't think Russ was washed up last year. I don't know what people were watching. I don't know what people thought about Justin Fields dealing with the most terrible situation, and Caleb Williams is dealing with the same thing. I think the Bears would have been in the same situation regardless, and you drafted his clone to come out there in the Bears and try to do what he's doing. But to be honest, if Russ goes down, Justin Fields wasn't losing them games.
No.
It was the opposite problem. Remember, he was leading in rushing touchdowns. He was leading in rushing touchdowns on the team. I think he was the only one to have a rushing touchdown for the first 4 weeks of the season before Najee and the rest of them.
In rushing touchdowns.
Oh, he still does? My goodness. So it's just a different dynamic, and you kind of see them playing around with that too, right? But I think right now it's a beautiful problem to have for Coach Tomlin, because it's almost like you're coaching a college team. Like, dang, if Russ plays bad, I can just put in Justin Fields, and I know we're not going to be worse. So it's a great problem to have, being at 9-3, and you're controlling your destiny. Aren't they number one in the NFC North right now? They should be.
Yes.
And I mean, think about the division that they're in, man. Like, the Browns right now are not bad with Jameis Winston. I mean, he's playing his ass off right now. The Bengals and Jamar Chase and the rest of them, they had the worst luck, man. They really do. I mean, what else do they have to do? They just go against teams every week that just play a little bit better than them. Literally, that's been the story of their season. Because Joe Burrow, I mean, yeah, he had a couple turnovers in the game that were really crushing. But, like, Chase Brown is playing his ass off. Jamar Chase has been a beast. T. Higgins is battling injury and was beasting yesterday. Andre Yoshivas, the pretty boy's out there making tough catches and getting clamped on, and he still comes out making first downs. And their defense has been, fairly decent this year. So, I mean, really and truly, their story still comes to that offensive line. I don't know what they have to do. But if this is not a focus this year for them to get them a better offensive line, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, because that's really what it is. Joe's having to do way too much back there, and instead of just having to play quarterback. So, I mean, kudos to the Steelers, because we thought that they were going to be pretty bad because of all the transition that they were going under. Not necessarily that they were a bad team overall, and I think a lot of Steelers fans hated us for saying that, but like, it's a lot. Yeah,
because they did hate you, and I wish that he was on here, Dan, because the last time you guys were here, you said the same thing about that. But as you said, there's a lot of Steelers fans couldn't stand you because you said that. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I stole your little thunder. Go ahead.
No. But, I mean, it's a great point to bring up, because, like, if you understand it in a vacuum just like that, like, is Mike Tomlin going to add on to his legacy that I can bring a bunch of misfit children in and make them mesh to my system and not have that be an excuse? Or are we just going to take a less, maybe a 500 season or less for the first time in his career, and everybody be like, well, there's a bunch of new guys on the team and having a double quarterback system and all this. So I don't think it would have been a bad thing. He would have, of course, gotten an excuse, but I think all of Pittsburgh would be burning down right now. Right. But that just shows you that when everybody last year and the year before were talking about Mike Tomlin should be fired.
Yep, remember that, right?
He steps up to the plate once again and shows you, I'm still one of them dudes, man. And you got to, everything goes through Pittsburgh still, even the Ravens, and they can't go through Pittsburgh this year because they're figuring out their own problems right now. So, yeah, the Steelers have been probably the most surprising team this year, to be honest. And they've taken the opposite approach of everybody else. Is like, you guys got to get with the program. I told you when I was down there at the practice, man, he literally had them lined up doing one-on-one drills like we did back in high school. And Calvin Austin was eating the rookies up. And he was telling Calvin to line back up against guys like Peyton Wilson. Run it again until we get this right. I'm like, am I watching a high school practice? Like, pros practice like this too? But the fundamentals are the fundamentals. And building your rapport with your teammates and making them better is why they're winning games right now. I doubt any other team in the league is practicing like them, and it shows, man, because those dudes love each other. And if you don't think when Justin Fields steps back in there, he's playing with his hero, man. Like, Russell Wilson was his favorite quarterback. Imagine having to play with your idol. Of course he was going to take a back seat. That was easy to tell him, hey, you're benched for the rest of the season. All right, cool. I'm going to get to watch Russ cook, and I'm going to pick his brain. and they're like best friends right now, man. It's a beautiful thing. It's really them, the Ravens, and the Rams, and there was another team I was going to mention. These are the most well-run organizations in the NFL, bar none. They're always at the top, and they don't make excuses for themselves, and they always change in and out of guys, and they seem to always have success. I don't know what it is, man. I would love to be a fly on the wall in their front office just for one day, just to see.
Gotcha. E, what you got for us on the Ravens, the Bengals and the Steelers, real quick, before we move on to the last game?
Oh, man. Russ looked like the Russ of old, man. I mean, he was out there
Yes.
just flinging it. And one thing people don't, I didn't want to say this, man. Russell Wilson's arm strength is immaculate. The touch that he has on his passes 15, 20 yards down the field is remarkable at this stage. Yeah, you got NFL young boy out there getting it or whatever. But it's a beautiful thing to see, man. I don't know what to say about Cincinnati, man. I guess Danté said it all, but that defense is too many times. They kind of remind me of Miami a little bit. You know, they should be better than what they are, but when it comes to these games, you really see when they, depending on who they match over, you really see what their defense is capable of, and that's not much at all. So, and the joke, I want to say this about the whole quarterback thing, right? I think at the end of the day, it still comes down to the organization and how it goes from top to bottom. Because yes, your quarterback may be getting $35 to $45 million a year, right? Okay, granted, you still got 52 other guys to pay. That is where coaching and developing and drafting comes in. Those are all still staples of these organizations, or lack thereof. Why is it that, yes, we all know that the Zebras is helping Kansas City in some of these games, but why is it that Kansas City is not having this problem?
Hey, E, can I stop you right there and make one point just to add on to that real quick? Mm-hmm. Tom Brady got a lot of shit for how he was, but does everybody know who is the highest paid group on that team year in and year out? Matt Light and the offensive lineman were the highest paid players on that team.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's funny how we have a copycat league when it comes to offense, but we don't have a copycat league when it comes to organizational skills. That's all I got.
Got the mic, bro.
E with the mic drop. D-Dogs, your thoughts on the Steelers and
I ain't got much other than I said I thought the Steelers was gonna be 8-8, 500 this season. They surpassed that. They're looking good. They in control of that division, 9-3 so far. Got what, 5 more games? What we got, about 5 games? Slated
7-5, yeah, about 4 or 5 games, depending on your buy. Yes.
Yeah. So I think Steelers are strong, man. They are strong and they keeping their foot on the pedal. To mention what's his name? Justin Fields. He came in to ice the game yesterday. He came in and he came and slid and ran. I think they ran the clock down after that play. He just seemed so like joyful. Like, he got in the game just to do that. That's all he did. And the team looks much better. It looks like they all playing for one another. I didn't realize that until when Dante just said about Fields being Wilson being Fields' idol, or sort of Steelers are playing good. Steelers are playing good, and Russell Wilson, like he said, man. I mean, I didn't even realize 414 yards, man. Hey,
not a bad outing.
Not a bad outing, and not to when he was with what's my man in Denver. Everybody was saying how and he had up until that point, he was playing okay.
Shit show in Denver, man.
Yeah, so hey, I love it, man. That's what I love, when people go out and prove other people wrong. He can still play this game and he can play at a high level. So, go what you say about the Bengals. I don't know what to say about them, man. This team, Joe Burrow got the bag, and
them dudes are still walking across from their facility across the street to go practice.
Trash.
What are we doing?
Hey, there you go, Dante. I ain't got nothing else to say about this team, man.
There you go.
There you go. They taking motorized scooters over there across the street. The fuck? I mean, come on, man.
Trash organization.
They're treating them like a high school team. We used to do that walking from the school building to the field.
To the field house. Yes, correct. Man,
Yo, no lie. Real quick, I seen the team. I was working a basketball game, and I'm not gonna name the team, but I seen the team, and they came up in vans, man. I'm like, wait a minute. It was like 6 15 passenger vans carrying the team, and I'm like, man, this is a Division 1 school or better.
From what you told me, yes, they are.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, yo, y'all in vans. I was like, wow. But neither here nor there. It's just
what you want sprinters.
Yeah, I would have thought you take care of your players, man. Y'all getting the money like that, so you take care of the players. But anyway,
especially as of recently, that their ticket sales and their jersey sales must be through the roof. They got the players to bring in, at least to build them like a sky bridge or something from across the street to walk over to the stadium. They ain't even got that. They're still practicing under that dusty ass bridge outside of the little lake out there for their practice. That's nasty work, man.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Wow. Go ahead, Dia. You was gonna say?
Yeah, let's say, that's what bad organizations do. That's what it is. It's like you're keeping your budget for your house. You can't keep a budget there, so you can't. You got your kids playing in the park with glass on it, on the ground, instead of just taking them, a few blocks over and playing somewhere nice. Hey, it's what you want to spend your money on.
They literally got a player in their locker room right now. Probably got a cleat out talking about, hey, man, can you put a little change in to help us build a sky bridge to the practice facility? You know how like the firemen do with the boot for the charities?
Yeah, they are. And the thing is, like you said, is that people weren't watching, but the last half of the year before they sat Russell down for financial reasons, and he was actually tearing the league on fire. It's not that the cat can't play. Of course he can play.
That weirded me out when I heard people say that he sucked last year. I was like,
what?
Bruh, in what game? Because I'm still trying to figure it out. In what game do y'all say that he sucked in? I mean, I don't understand.
I mean, are they saying he sucked because they lost games? That's a little bit different than him playing. Him playing the game, he didn't suck. He just lost. The team lost. But as him.
It's like this, D-Dubs. Are we all saying Joe Burrow sucks? They're losing games.
But
yeah,
but if you look at his numbers, he looked pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know.
Well, it's always the old argument with me when people are like, oh, they suck, and wins and losses come down to the quarterback. That's cap. Because, if I'm throwing for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns a year and my team still loses, I did my part as a player. Like, literally, that chess piece should be put on the side and said, okay, little buddy, you did everything you could. Let's look at all the other 10 players on this offense and try to see who was a deficient one here.
Right, because, I can't look at that and say that about Joe Burrow when he's first in yards, first in TDs, third in QBR.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah, it's something else going on, man. But
yeah, right.
quarterbacks always get it the worst, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Go ahead, Kev. I'm sorry.
No, you guys are good. We're gonna just talk about and thanks for all those that's been hanging out with us, man. This has been real fun. It's always a great pleasure when we hook up with ECG, man. Thank you, man. The last game, I'm gonna give this to Khalid, man. His Eagles went down 99 miles down to Baltimore and beat down the Ravens 24-19. Jalen Hurts was 11 for 19 for 118 yards, 1 TD. Barkley, a shout out to Saquon Barkley, 23 attempts and 107 rushing yards. Your thoughts, Khalid, on the Eagles? Your Eagles taking care of the Ravens.
Yeah, this is a game where Saquon Barkley was in the spotlight, but I really want to focus on the offensive line, man. That's my favorite part about this Eagles team is the way that the offensive line sets up whoever is in the backfield to succeed, right? Miles Sanders was doing great things in Philadelphia. Not like, maybe not top of the league great, but he was a very good back, and he earned himself a contract with the Carolina Panthers. And what has he done since he got there, right? Nothing. It's not an indictment on him necessarily, but he doesn't have an offensive line that's setting him up for success. DeAndre Swift, right? Career year for Philadelphia last year. Saquon Barkley, incredible talent, right? And now he's playing behind this offensive line. He is reaching another level, right, of production. And you're really seeing even more of that talent, that raw talent show. This Baltimore defense was one of the best against the run going into this week. And Barkley had a heyday, right? Over 100 yards and a touchdown on 23 carries, right? So nearly averaging 5 yards a carry. It was just a great game from him, right?
Yeah.
Very, on defense, a sound game. They gave Lamar Jackson a lot of trouble, whether it was, from the pass rush or just making sure that he didn't hurt them too much with his legs. This Philadelphia defense, it's legit. It's one of the top units in the league coming out of the bye week. They've been fantastic lately, but I can't help but wonder, right? The Baltimore Ravens only lost by 5 points. Kicker Justin Tucker
Say it again.
was 2 for 4. He missed 2 field goals. That's 6 points left out there that that the Ravens weren't able to collect. Obviously, right? Just do the math, and you're looking at a 25-24 win for the Baltimore Ravens if he hits both of those field goals, right? Now, I know that maybe the game scripts later on would look a little different, but the Ravens have been leaving a lot of points on the board due to missed field goals, and Justin Tucker is having by far the worst year of his very long, very successful career, right? And this is not taking away anything from what Philadelphia has done, because they looked really good, especially defensively. But for the Ravens, who are now 8-5, right, with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, now in the same offense, you're expecting more. You're expecting to be able to beat the best teams in the league, like a Philadelphia. You're supposed to beat a team like Las Vegas earlier on in the season, who really haven't amounted to much this year. You should be beating those teams. And if you want to do that, you need to convert field goals, right? You need to get the points when you can. And Justin Tucker has been the best guy in the league at that. When you line up to take a kick with Tucker out there, that's 3 points. Bank it. This year, it hasn't been the case. And not to mention, Tucker missed an extra point.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a guy who missed, in all things considered, out of the 6 kicks that he attempted, 4 field goals and 2 extra points, he missed half of each. That's a total of 7 points on the board, right? And I don't want to take away from what Philadelphia did, because it was great. But Baltimore, you have got to be thinking that you're better than what your record says you are, right? You need to get those points.
Yeah.
And if you could just fix that, man, Baltimore's going to win a lot of games. They've been winning. They again 8-5. That's not bad, but you're going to win even more, right, when you're actually converting those field goals. So we just saw 2 of the league's best, quite frankly, square off in Baltimore. And at least I was impressed by both teams. I was not disappointed by the quality of play. Both defenses played pretty well, but we really did see Philadelphia get the edge in the trenches on both sides of the football.
Great point, Khalid makes. I'll give it to you here in a second, Dante. The coach for Baltimore, Harbaugh, and he said afterwards about the game, of course he's going to protect his kicker and all that. And like you said, Khalid, Justin Tucker, he's been automatic for years and years. And I'll drop this to the panel. I mean, do you get rid of Justin Tucker right now?
No.
I'll probably say no. Right now, no. Right. You don't get rid of him right now. You try to let him work it out. Hopefully he'll work it out. But the last couple of games, the last 3 or 4 games, I was like, hey, what's going on with Justin Tucker? And then last night, you clearly can see it looked like he had no confidence. It looks like every ball keeps going to the left. Whatever. I'll give it to Dante. Go ahead, Dante.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when Matt Stover was with the Ravens, right? And how he was diminishing at the later part of his career too. It wasn't as hard as this. Like he didn't have a fall off like Justin Tucker had, but like
Yes.
you could tell before he got signed to the Indianapolis Colts that like it was time for him to find a new home for thank you for your services, sir, but it's time for you to go. I think in today's day and age we have not only with all the technology that we have right now, but I'm sure scouting departments are, looking at a lot of these college guys, and we've seen it time and time again throughout, especially the last couple of years, how many 2 and 3 kickers that are being brought in for other teams, right? Why don't, the UFL, Jake Bates was awesome for the Detroit Panthers, and now the Lions have him, and he just missed his first field goal last week since he's been in the league. Like, he's been the best kicker by far this year, not only coming from the UFL where he didn't miss to now. So there are kickers out there, and he was bagging groceries literally before he got signed to the Panthers. So, that's a beautiful story. This would be the, more of a perfect time than ever to go out there and start scouting you another kicker and at least make Justin Tucker feel a little bit of pressure from within finally now at his old age.
Yeah, I think they need to find another one. I agree with you, Danté.
Yeah, I think it's time to just bring some competition on and let him pass the torch or let him find another team. I mean, I kind of disagree with you guys there. I think it's time for him to go because with all the talent that you have there, you can't have games come down to your kicker leaving points up on the board at this point in time with how talented your team is. So
hold on, Danté. Not only leaving points on the board. I mean, he was 2 for 4 and 1 or 2 extra points. That's 7 points. So that's 14 points all total.
Mm-hmm.
You add this, the Ravens should have won this game last night. Just based off of Justin Tucker's leg.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been bad. And I mean, like, let's think about his counterpart and Chris Boswell. I know we just talked about Pittsburgh. Let's think about Chris Boswell. Chris Boswell's had his up and downs, but like we have yet to see a fall off from him. And it was those two going at it year after year after year, pretty much who's the best kicker in the league.
Yeah.
And Chris Boswell still got it. So, but again, Chris Boswell has had some injuries. They've brought some guys in there. They've tried out in, this preseason and other seasons to kind of make him feel uncomfortable too. I'm telling you, competition can cure everything or it can break a guy for sure. So, and I think it's literally elevated him to get a couple more years out of Chris Boswell. And I think Justin Tucker needs that pressure. But, going to the game, man, I hate the Eagles just because I hate how delusional their fan base is sometimes. And I feel like we got the best Eagles fans on our side, right? Khalid and Don and Sora. They're not like that. They're but I hate to throw it out there, man. Yeah. How did y'all let Saquon go, man? I mean, like, I'm not the biggest Saquon fan out there, but like I agree with Khalid when he said the offensive line has been as good as they've ever been. Like, you guys know I'm a film guy, so I go back and I watch the All 22 all the time. I literally just got done last night trying to figure out, is it Saquon or is it the offensive line or is it both? I think this is one of those situations where it's just peanut butter and jelly, man. I don't know how else to slice it other than that. Like, it's peanut butter and jelly. They're the best team that I've seen in my life. I'm not exaggerating. In my lifetime. They're the epitome on how you run a zone blocking scheme and pick up stunts. Stunts are supposed to confuse a zone blocking scheme because you're blocking your zone. You're not man up on everybody. The Eagles do that a lot. And the way that some of these teams run stunts, it's easy to confuse that, right? And people don't know. When you're blocking on the run, you're pushing forward. When you're blocking in the pass, you're dropping back. So when you drop back, it's easy to pick up a stunt. When you're pushing forward on a run, it's harder to pick up a stunt. And especially on the left side of their offensive line, man, the way that they've just been picking up blocks for each other, like literally the biggest runs that you see from Saquon, and you can pull this out, just watch the offensive line play. They'll pick up a stunt. They know what each person's supposed to do, And it's not a surprise why Saquon's getting a 60-yard run downfield because the block has been so damn good. And then you have him running the ball who's smart already that no matter how wide Saquon can be, he's like a razor blade through two pieces of loose leaf paper, man. Like literally.
Well,
he's that dynamic.
There's something I noticed this year, and it's a lot of Le'Veon Bell. He's walking up to the line, finding the hole, getting in the hip like he's in high school, and then bursting. Remember how Le'Veon Bell used to almost stop in the hole?
Yep.
Saquon almost stops in the hole. Like he gets there and he looks like, oh, okay, we're going this way.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, there's a car coming. He stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Car coming. I just okay, I'm going. Yo, man, that's I mean, I don't know if we talked to Le'Veon Bell because he is kind of an asshole, but the reality is that running style though was probably, and I'll see a lot of running backs do it. It'll lengthen your career. But yeah, he's not just a downhill runner. You know, that one cut, boom. He used to be that. He gets to the hole now. He's like, oh, okay.
But you understand why he had to do that because the offensive line was so bad with the Giants that he's doing double duty. It makes you as a guy that's not as high on Saquon Barkley as others. This was kind of like a humbling experience for me this year watching him run the rock because I'm like, man, he really was the gel for that offense. And having to do what he had did for years, no wonder why he got hurt so much. Yeah. No wonder why, when Daniel Jones did good, it was because Saquon was in the game. And I was a Daniel Jones guy. I always thought it was the opposite. I thought it was because Daniel Jones was elevating Saquon. It was the other way around. I love having those humbling experiences as a fan because I can eat my own crow, right? But then also it's like I get to appreciate a great player that I was doubting that of his greatness. Not the fact that I didn't think he was a good player, but I didn't think that he was able to elevate a team like he did for years. And now that he's with the Eagles, it's almost like he had the heaviest backpack on, and you took out the two biggest books in that backpack, and now he's rocking out. He's feeling a little bit more confident. Like, yeah, I can still carry the load, but the load isn't so heavy because we all are in sync now. Man, to be honest, man, that's the best part of the Eagles right now, and also the fact that they're tackling better than they ever have. Yeah, I said this time and time again. Yeah, I said this time and time again. The reason why they lost that Super Bowl is because they couldn't tackle.
Yep.
Great players that couldn't tackle. This year, having Zach Bond there, that dude is excellent, and he's making everybody else around him tackle. And I've been saying since day one about Cooper DeJean.
What I say, Kev? What I say last night? I told you the Niners should have drafted him. We should have went through hell and high water to get that cat.
Bro,
he's the best athlete in the state for 10 years.
Cooper DeJean is what I saw on film, bro. I told everybody, I was like, he's not a safety. He's a legit old school corner that'll lay the lumber on you, man. Yeah. And what he did to Derrick Henry last night surprised everybody. But I'm sitting there. I even said this in my Sliders episode that I broke down Cooper DeJean, that he's a great tackling corner that we haven't seen. And everybody just kept saying, oh, he's a white dude. He should be playing safety. I'm like, nah, he's a great he'll play nickel. And he even tweeted out the other day that I'm a corner. And I was like, doing a Birdman hair rub, and I was like, I tried to tell these cats, man. Nobody believed, but I saw it on film, man. The eye in the sky does not lie, man. The dude is a great player. And to be honest, this is a hot take. People love Quinyon Mitchell. I'm not taking anything away from that kid. Like, nobody's throwing to his side. He's locking down people. But really, Cooper DeJean, because he's dealing with a lot of the brunt of the action, is the better corner to me on the Eagles.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that with any bias. I'm just saying how I see it. He's able to deal with adversity. He's able to tackle. He's able to lock you up. And he's tackling Derrick Henry and locking down your best tight end. I don't know, man. That kid is legit.
And he plays slot, and he's fast as hell. Listen, He's like a 5'2" baseball player. So,
and guess who his counterpart is that everybody forgot about that I was high on too. Not to get in, they're playing right now, and I know he's inactive.
Yeah.
But Riley Moss, it was 2 white boy corners on Iowa, and people just tend to forget. And him and Patrick Surtain are balling out right now. I was high on both of those dudes, man. Them Iowa kids ain't no joke. And there's another white dude coming out. His name is Sebastian Castro. He's a safety. He's coming out in this draft now too, to complete the trio in the NFL.
Actually, we don't need a safety, but yeah, we'll take him.
He plays nickel too, so
Diamonds need him. We need a bunch of things. But listen, Jordan and those guys playing D tackle, that really hurt Lamar last night because they stayed, right? So they stayed in their gap, integrity. They didn't move off it, so he never had anywhere to run. So, you don't want Jordan Davis falling on you too much, and old boys from Clemson. Yeah. Those dudes are serious business. So. Just so you know. But I think that's coming, man. Go ahead,
let me pass it on to E. Your thoughts real quick, and then we get on out of here. Your thoughts on the Eagles and the Ravens.
I enjoyed this game, man. It for me, the Ravens defense is not. They're good, but they're nowhere as good as they were last year. I think them losing Queen really hurt in that middle of that interior of that defense. But I was really pleased to see that as great as these running backs are, there's been times on both sides of the ball that the defense stopped the other when they needed to. That's just the competitor in me. I like to see stuff like that, man. Just because your name's Saquon Barkley don't mean that you're going to run all over us. Or Derrick Henry, you're going to run all over us. If you know how to tackle, looking at you, NFL, if you know how to tackle and you know how to teach tackling, you wouldn't have some of the games that you have during on Sundays. But anyway, it was a good game, man. Baltimore is just a weird team to me this year, man. Just some more stuff that they have to fight through this adversity. Whether it be the kicker or play calling is always something that's coming up, man. But I think at the end of the day, they'll be fine once they get into the playoffs, and then then it'll be back to coaching again. But the Eagles are flexing their muscles right now in the NFC. I still got Detroit better than them. Minnesota's slightly behind them, but the Eagles definitely they're starting to be in a class by themselves, along with Detroit, of course. But when you get these guys rolling, man, like all the talent that they have on the defense is starting to slowly come together. You got all this talent on offense, and I don't even think all of them was healthy for this game. But man, Jalen Hurts, you don't have to do too much. You don't have to be Superman. You got a plethora of talent around you. You got a solid, stout offensive line. Sky's the limit for the Eagles, man. No pun intended.
They definitely should switch it up, though. At least threaten that they can do other things, because I know Jalen Hurts is still Jalen Hurts. I know AJ Brown is still AJ Brown. They've dealt with some injuries with Dallas Goedert and Devonta Smith at this point, but you still have to threaten that you can be a consistent passing game too, because you got we're looking at a team right now in the Broncos they might be the top defense in the league. To be honest, and I would love to see a game between them. I know they're not scheduled to play each other, but that would be a game that would be awesome to kind of see in the Super Bowl. Just the Eagles' offense against the Denver's defense. I would love to see that, but they won't get a chance to play them. But I think for the rest of the season, it's kind of you don't want to show your cards all too much, because there is going to be a team that understands that we can stop them if we can stop Saquon and bully their offensive line a little bit and beat them up. What's Jalen going to look like when Saquon is not there, or we've already shut that down? And if we can shut Saquon down, we can definitely shut Jalen down from running. So you got to use your arm, Jalen. And I'm a big Jalen fan. I just think you can't show your whole cards, because I think Nick Sirianni has done that a lot in his career. I mean, let's think about it. By the time they get to playing their biggest games, everything that he's done up to that point, they gave the blueprint to every single team he's won against on how to beat them. And then they come down to saying, well, the grass at the Super Bowl, we had to wear different cleats. Well, both teams did. So don't use that as an excuse of why you lost. You guys couldn't tackle.
It's raining on both of us, brother.
I hate when players do that. I love George Pickens, but when he said that about the field the other day in Cleveland, I was like, bro, both of y'all had to play
on the same field, bro. Stop.
Come on, bro.
Stop it, man. Stop it, man. D-Dubs, I'm gonna let D-Dubs have the last say, and then we're gonna get on out of here. D-Dubs, you can answer for us about the Giants and why they gave Saquon Barkley.
Oh, now, I mean, surprising for Danté, but not surprising for us who watched the Giants, man. Yo, they had no offensive line, so that's why when Saquon goes to Philadelphia, he looks. We already knew. Giant fans that know that really know. We already know that he was going to do what he, because we only got a little taste of what Saquon Barkley. Y'all have unleashed the whole thing. It's like getting a Ferrari and we didn't know what we had, or we knew what we had, but we just didn't have something else to help your car go along.
It's the same thing with Derrick Henry too, right? Yeah. Like you go to good offensive lines, man. You feel like it's a relief.
Absolutely, because you don't have to work so hard, and you see so much, you see so clearly.
I will say, it's a different situation because Harbaugh will fuck a game plan up. He will totally screw a game plan up. Totally. Oh no, but he will. He just will. So
that's what you're saying is making it so easy for Saquon, or that's
the point is that this guy will say, "Oh well, we got, if they see Henry in the backfield, they know we're going to run." Well, you threw him a screen last night, stupid. What are you saying to me, man? These are professional athletes, man. He could probably run the whole damn tree if you ask him. He just never gets a chance to.
Yeah.
So what linebackers running up the seam with him? None. Just throw the ball.
Yeah.
Throw the ball. He may be, after my boy Cooper DeJean, one of the best athletes in football. But, Harbaugh will without a doubt coach his way out of a win. So
he just needs to let Todd Monken do what he does, man. He's done a wonderful job with Lamar Jackson. And that's no slight against Greg Roman, because you saw Greg Roman's doing what he's doing with John Harbaugh right now. I think that was just like, hey, Greg, go coach with my brother. You already know how we roll, but it's totally different. It's totally different.
Coaching with the Niners back when Harbaugh was with the Niners. So
yep.
With Kaepernick and Roman was there then. So
I just think Greg didn't want to. He didn't want to conform to the new school way of how to play football with the athletic quarterback. And Todd's did that because he was in college and won national championships with the Bulldogs, having to deal with Stetson Bennett and the boys. So, he knows how to elevate. It's no surprise to me why Lamar won an MVP his first year with Todd Monken. Yeah. And Todd already came out and said, he's like, I don't want a head coach. I just want to be a coordinator. So they got one of them ones, man. If John can just get out of his way, let me do what I got to do. I got you. Let's just win this thing. Let me coordinate, and you do everything else. I got this.
Hey, I got one question. Lamar Jackson says something about that. Has got a phone call from his mother. He's mad. He's crying or whatever. His mother says, "You got the lanes," So I'm like this, man. What the fuck is John? Is it John? What is John saying on the fucking sideline? Like, what are you saying, my G? Like, for real. What are you telling this man to do? You telling, and he said it himself that he's wanted to throw the ball. I don't understand what is going on in Baltimore.
What it is this. For the first 5 years of his career, everybody told him using his athletic gifts was a sin. Don't run. You're never going to do anything till you're a pocket quarterback. Yada, 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 yada. And it becomes etched somewhere on your psyche, every time that you can run, should you run? Or can I hold it and throw it, and I'll get more credit for throwing a touchdown rather than running a touchdown? Well, you know what? Look at Josh Allen. He says, I don't give a fuck. However, you can push me in the end zone backwards. I could care less.
Right.
As long as we win the game, we're good to go.
There you go. I mean, we looked at Steve Young. You're a Niner. Steve Young could run the ball, but he picked and choose when to run. When it's given to you, go ahead and get it. I just don't understand it. And then for him to say it, then I'm like, what is really going on out here? Like, and you're right, D. Huh?
He needs one more receiver to put people in man-to-man. Because if you turn your back on him, he'll probably be running up the field with you. But, you know, it is what it is, man.
I'm just saying. It's just frustrating me because I seen the same thing last year. We all seen it in the playoffs. I mean, just wide open lanes. At least, and you guys, y'all break down the film. Yeah, help me if I'm misinforming or giving out misinformation. But I could have sworn that the lanes was open for him to run and just take what the defense is giving you. But instead, like DA said, it's etched in his mind that he wants to prove everybody, and you can almost see it. I mean, I see it clear as day to me, and I could be wrong, but it's just like he has to prove something instead of just going ahead and get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if John is holding them back or not, or I doubt that Todd is, because I look at a situation like this, and I think the biggest problem with what Cam Newton was doing in Carolina with Ron Rivera is Ron Rivera let him do too much. And that's the reason why he got him hurt. Like, he was just like, Cam, I'm a defensive guy. You go out there and do what you need to do for the team. And I think John's kind of taking a lesson from that and like, man, I can't just allow you to do everything because we need you. And the injuries on the back of my mind, we missed you for damn near a full season because he only played, remember, he played half a season, then got hurt.
Right.
Both times. I don't know if he's just cautious of that and that's how he's coordinating, Todd Monken to be. But like at the end of the day, you got to let your weapons be comfortable with what they can do in the situations that they can't control, right? So I would never want to – that's like we talked about Lenore Sellers earlier. Lamar Jackson could – I wouldn't say he's going to run over people. He doesn't have a size like that. But Lamar Jackson's been known to do some crazy shit in his lifetime in the NFL so far. But when you tell him, like, look for the guy downfield, Zay Flowers is going to come on the deep crosser – rolls out, he breaks the tackle, and he's still going to throw it and then overthrow him. And then you're just like, well, you should have just ran it. So I think it's a little bit of that. We're kind of dealing with, is Lamar Jackson being taught this and like it's just ingrained in him now that like I got to look for the pass? Is there a conflict between the conversation with Todd Monken and John Harbaugh?
And the funny thing is, he said that. He said it. He said he was trying to just let the wide receivers develop the route. That's what he said last night. And I'm like, but okay, I get it. But
if the D tackle is on top of you, you gotta do something.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you know this. Like Lamar, you've been in the game now. You're a vet. Go ahead and take it.
Two-time MVP. Like
you're two-time. Go take it, please.
I would think that as a coach, you can justify him just playing the game how he thinks it should, or he can improvise. Like, dude, if you're gonna audible to play, I get it. You're gonna make something happen. But I think sometimes, I guess in Jim's mind is like, we can't get you hurt again, dog. Like it's just not possible. We don't have Tyler Huntley backing you up no more. He's gone. Right. We got Josh Johnson that's been in the league forever. He can't do what you do.
I don't know. It just drives me insane, man. I'm like, when I heard this clip of him last night, I was like, oh my God, it's insane to me. It just drives me.
He's gonna find himself out of a job. Yeah. If anybody needs to be talking about fire somebody, it's probably him and not Mike Tomlin. Well, how come we've never heard that
last week? I think we said something. Did we say this last week about John? About
I think you said
Harbaugh?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but winning that one Super Bowl will get you a lot of years of grace. So it's good for 10 years of grace. So
Yeah,
at least
I said the
10
same
years.
thing for what's my man Coughlin. Yeah, Coughlin
10
he got
years.
saved just for winning those Super Bowls,
Yeah, you get about 10 years of grace. So,
and
Yeah.
then they knifed him in the back.
well,
The Giants are nasty, man. Yo,
But
Nasty
it's
work.
crazy to think the last time you won a Super Bowl, ain't none of them dudes playing on that team anymore.
no,
All of them are gone now. So, like, you got to turn over something other than Lamar winning 2 MVPs at this point. Because people are going to start looking at you as a coach. It's like, Lamar can win his games. He's already proved that he can do it 2 times.
facts.
What about you as a coach? Can you coach everybody else to be on the same level or on par with what Lamar is doing at their position? And you really can't say that outside of Kyle Hamilton. Literally and truly, he's the best part of their team outside of Lamar. Well, Derrick Henry now, but Derrick's already proven that he can do it, multiple time, rushing leader and everything. But you got to start looking at, is it the talent that is getting us by, or is it John that's getting us by? And I think you can honestly say this year, it's the talent.
Thank you. Thank you, man. I'm like, yo,
Thank
at
you,
some
man.
point, when you gotta look at this guy, man, y'all got to look at this guy. Stop.
well,
Yeah,
that's better.
I wonder if you switched Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, if Mike was on the Ravens, how many Super Bowls he could have win, and how many could John win with the Steelers? That's an interesting conversation right there. I would wonder what people would think about that. I think Mike would have won several Super Bowls at this point.
Mike would have built the defense first.
Shoot, even if you put Lamar there 5 years ago with them.
Yeah, he would have built that defense up. Because you got to have, if you don't have a great all around team, you got to have one side great. But hey, I know we got to go. But yeah, we need to do this again. Like we got to start scheduling these for every few weeks, fellas. So we ain't got to be until 10 o'clock at night because I know I'm not going to go to the gym tomorrow. So
Yeah, you'll go to the gym tomorrow. Go ahead, D.
oh, well, I get up at 5 in the morning.
Nah, man, that's all I had, man. Yo, I appreciate everything, man. I had a blast as always, man. But that was my take on it. That the whole Raven situation bugs me, man. I mean, if you're gonna get Kansas City, when are you gonna get them? If you talk about knocking off Kansas City, and Kansas City don't look like the best. And I don't want to go into another conversation. Exactly, E. This is the same thing last year.
Their defense is like, I think, 5 steps better than it was last year. So it's kind of hard.
Okay.
I'll leave you with this thought-provoking thought I have.
Okay.
If you switch John Harbaugh and Andy Reid.
I love Andy. I like Andy Reid.
Yeah, I love Andy too, man.
I think anybody with Mahomes, but I am not 100% sure of the Andy Reid thing because I know some things. But I think he's a hell of a coach, but he's more of a, at this point in time in his career, last 5-10 years, he's been more of a GM. He's just been the CEO. Because believe me, they're still running the same offense that the enemy put in years ago with Mahomes. They're running the same offense. It ain't changing. They're just putting different pieces. They'll do different things. So
with Matt Nagy too. That's crazy.
So, he's good. He's and that boy can play. So it is what it is.
Definitely. Definitely. We're going to get on out of here, man. Shout out to the East Coast Gridiron for Danté and Kelli stopping by. Let me give them some applause, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys, man.
Man, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
For coming through, man. Shout out to all those that's been in the comments. Thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you check out the East Coast Gridiron, man. Their link is in the description. Show them some love. Make sure you click, and subscribe to their channel, man. And also show them some love. Also, click, and subscribe to our channels. For those that's just watching us for the first time, man, we talk all sports, man. But as you can see, we love football. 2 hours and 33 minutes talking about football. We probably can go a little bit longer. But I'll give the East Coast guys, Gridiron guys, the last say, and then we get on out of here. Go ahead, Danté. What you got for us, man?
I just looked on a box score for the Cleveland-Denver game, and I forgot that Kadarius Toney was on the Browns. He's got a carry for 3 yards. I'm like, am I in the multiverse? What in the hell just happened? But nah, I appreciate you guys having us on, man. You know, this is what we do. I feel like I do this 24/7 outside of my regular job. So the train doesn't stop rolling, man. There's no off season with us. We love this. We'll start doing this in the spring when the UFL turns back around. So, you know, Kevin, when you hit me up, man, I'm pretty much always there unless I got something to do. So I got y'all in the back pocket always.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, bro.
definitely want to do it again.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Khalid, what you got for us before we get out of here?
Not much, man. Just appreciate the opportunity to come out here, just talk about the game we all love and enjoy, both college and NFL, man. Nothing else I'd rather be doing.
I hear you.
That's what it is. Appreciate that, Khalid. E, what you got for us?
Yo, man, another great Monday Night Blitz, man. Thank you, Kelli and Danté, for blessing us with y'all presence up here talking about this gridiron. And, yo, man, everybody be safe out there, man. And, pay attention to these sports, man, because some of these guys that y'all be listening to, they ain't about that football life, man. You know what I'm saying? So, you know.
Calling people the wrong name. No, let me stop.
Yeah, you know. Yo, stop, man. Stop. Yo, man. That's all I got, man. Y'all have a great one. I ain't going to get it.
DA, what you got for us, bro?
Hey, fellas, thank you so much. So many more questions I want to ask, but we can get back, you know, the UFL pipeline, you know, NFL, you know, what they're going to do with these players and, you know, a bunch of stuff, man. But we'll set up another time to do so. I thank you guys for coming. Everybody be safe. Enjoy yourselves, man. Had a pleasure, man. I really had a blast. Thank you.
Gotcha. Appreciate that, DA. D-Dubs, what you got?
Yo, nothing much, man. Other than that, man, yo, appreciate East Coast Gridiron, man. Yo, coming through. Everything, you know, hey, Monday night, we appreciate it. See you Thursday night. And we're going to do it again, man. Shout outs to Dan, Ryan, Mike, who couldn't be here. And we'll see you again, man. Again, thanks to Danté and Kelli.
Appreciate that. Again, thanks for the East Coast Gridiron for blessing, as he said, with their presence tonight, man. Like I said, we know football, but they know football. Like, for real, they break down film and all that stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? So go over there, check them out, show them some love, man. And, we'll do this again on Thursday night for the Sports Chasers podcast, man. So, listen, we're going to get our hat on behalf of myself and for the whole panel and the whole crew. Yo, this has been great. This has been a blast, man. Yo, this is the Sports Chasers podcast. Y'all be good. Y'all be great. Hey, we'll see y'all Thursday night.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Sports Chasers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms and connect with us on all social media channels for exclusive content and updates. We'd also love for you to join the conversation, share your thoughts, and become part of the Sports Chasers community. And remember to tune in next time for some more real sports talk. Until then, stay frosty.